trying to get it right. Transition, changing the way that I see life. Transition mind. I'm on a mission, trying to get it right. I'm transitioning my life. Making a transition. Ooh, making a transition. Ooh, 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 ooh. Making a transition. Ooh, 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 ooh. Making a transition. Ooh, ooh. Transition, I'm on a mission. On a mission, I'm trying to get it right. Changing the way that I see life. Transition in my life. On a mission. On a mission.
Welcome. This is Alchemizing Energy, you guys. I have been panel hopping my behind off all week. And I said, you know what? Rather than me just jumping on panels like I always do, I need to talk about things that I'm interested in. It's interesting to like get on panels and kind of talk about different things. And, I like to do that because it kind of sharpens my sword a little bit when I get like kind of like, trashed by certain people. It helps me to like learn how to like kind of like get like a thicker skin about stuff. But, there's too much things going on and there's a lot going on that I would like to talk about that some of these panels are not talking about. So one of the issues, and I love Bill Burr. Bill Burr is one of my favorite comedians. He is, I would say up there with, I love Dave Chappelle. I love Bill Burr. Some of my favorites are deceased now, but Bill Burr is one of the favorites that I love. George Carlin. I used to be a comedian, by the way. I actually did comedy when I was younger, and I, was on Comedy Comic View on BET at one point in my career. When they used to like actually do the club shots, one of my things showed up on there. Hey, so I want to really talk about what Ben Shapiro had the nerve to like kind of get into with Bill Burr. Now, Bill Burr has a black wife. And what they love to do is use this word called woke, right? For some reason, the word woke has been hijacked by the white people. And it means something completely different than what it really means. And Bill Burr actually like called it out. And I love that about him. Bill Burr is not one to be played with. And I don't even know why a person like Ben Shapiro would think that he actually could stand up to a person like Bill Burr and not get his ASS handed to him. So let's get into how he buried Ben Shapiro when Ben Shapiro decided to get the balls to like talk crap about Bill Burr. Let's go.
That actually bought a ticket for me and my wife and two of our friends to go see Bill Burr at the Hard Rock Casino down here in Hollywood, Florida. And I have to say, it was one of the worst shows I ever saw in my life because he got up there and Bill Burr has become woked. He has become woked, I assume, because his wife is very much on the left. Over time, I think he became embarrassed that many people on the right thought he was very funny. And so he decided that he was going to start woking it up.
Like that idiot Ben.
Woking it up. Okay. Bill Burr has always been a controversial comedian. Okay. It's not, but because his wife is black, now all of a sudden he's on the left and now he's getting woked up and he's woking it up. I don't understand I don't like this whole Democrat versus Republican. If you have any like liberal mindset at all, you're a Democrat. And now it's everything you say is this woke thing. And that's crazy to me. That is like almost like a way to like call you a nigger to me. I'm like, dude, you woke and this, that, the other. What is wrong with being awake? And I hate the fact that whenever we come up with something as black people, white people take it and then they turn it into some bullshit. Being woke was never a negative thing. So now they turn being woke, they have made their own definition of it up, and now they just want to just throw woke into it. He this woke thing. We can't have shit. We can't have shit for ourselves. We come with our own slang. They want to jump in and just take it away, and now it means this. Everything that we do. All right, so let's go into Bill Burr and his response to that.
Shapiro. No, he's woke now. He's like, I don't. At one point, the guy liked me.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to look at that guy like he's an adult.
All right, so as you may know by now, Bill Burr recently made headlines after he called out the group of dude bro podcasters who platform corrupt politicians and world leaders without ever giving pushback. But another huge call out in that interview that you might have missed was when Bill Burr addressed his ongoing beef with Ben Shapiro. And so I touched on this briefly in my initial video about that podcast, but I actually think it deserves more attention because after learning about the history of this beef, I quickly realized that this was probably the biggest moment of little Ben Shapiro's career. Because, believe it or not, at one point in time, little Ben was actually Bill Burr's #1 fan. Like, he promoted Bill's special on his Twitter account in 2019, calling it shocking and audacious, and he even made an entire YouTube video defending the comedian in 2021, titled,
Since when did Ben Shapiro start wearing this thing on his, what's the thing called on the back of your head? He just got super Jewish now. Is he super woke now? Because when did you start wearing this thing? He was not always wearing that. Now he didn't put this thing on his head, and now he coming after everybody. He just got power. That thing, that cap on his head gave him power. Now people are woke or whatever. He's just annoying. Like, bro, Ben Shapiro is one of the most annoying. And they all have that same cadence. And I actually like Candace Owens, but they all sound like they sound like a sped up YouTube video when they talk. Even when they're talking normal, they sound like they're on 1.25 when they speak. I don't know whether it's ADHD or what it is, but it's like they all have like that same fast-paced cadence that it drives me insane. And it's like a hyped-up voice, and they all like, it's like, bro, have y'all taken y'all Ritalin?
leftists outraged over Bill Burr jokes at the 2021 Grammys.
Bill Burr said a thing, and the thing was unwoke because our cultural Puritans can never.
You can't tell me that don't sound like it's sped up. Does he really talk this fast? And does his voice really sound like this? Like a we represent the lollipop kids? Like, who talks like this? Is that his voice? Is that really his voice, bro? That he sounds like this? Listen to this. Watch.
Said a thing, and the thing was unwoke because our cultural Puritans can never allow Bill Burr to make a joke about his own inability to pronounce Latino names. You can Latinx names.
So up until 7 months ago, Ben Shapiro thought that Bill Burr was on his team. You know, he thought Bill was one of these anti-woke mafia heroes such as himself. But then in February of this year, Bill Burr vocalized his support for Luigi Mangione and criticized the evil practices of billionaire CEOs.
Free Luigi!
Which seemed to hurt little Ben's feelings. So much so that he made an hour-long podcast about Bill Burr, claiming that his stand-ups become weak, that he's become disconnected from his audience, and that he's turned into a woke a-hole ever since he married his current wife.
So this brings us to Bill Burr. So I have to say, Bill Burr is so Bill Burr.
And you're not an asshole, though. So Bill Burr's an asshole, but you're not one? With your pitched up. I believe that when he puts these videos out, he has to pitch the voice up a certain way to speed up how he's talking, because there's no way that anyone naturally talks in this pitch of voice at this speed. It's ridiculous. Like, who talks like this?
Burr, I used to really enjoy his work. I mean, on occasion, I still enjoy his work. He's a comedian, which means he's very hit or miss. His Red Rock special, for example, hilarious. I'm such a Bill Burr fan that I actually bought a ticket for me and my wife and two of our friends to go see Bill Burr at the Hard Rock Casino down here in Hollywood, Florida. And I have to say, it was one of the worst shows.
And I'm going to tell you this. They are not pitching it up. The video that is reviewing this is not pitching it up. This is how he really talks. And it's really insane and annoying. Like, who talks like this fast? Like, bro, slow it down. Stop drinking coffee or whatever, snorting coke, whatever you're doing to talk like this super duper. Just slow it down, bro. Like take measured like pauses in between it. Like, I mean, does he even breathe?
Special, for example, hilarious. I used to be, I'm such a Bill Burr fan that I actually bought a ticket for me and my wife and two of our friends to go see Bill Burr at the Hard Rock Casino down here in Hollywood, Florida. And I have to say, it was one of the worst shows I ever saw in my life because he got up there and Bill Burr has become woked. He has become woked, I assume, because his wife is very much on the left. Over time, I think he became embarrassed that many people on the right thought he was very funny. And so he decided that he was going to start woking it up. So this entire show that he did in Hollywood, Florida, it was so bad that he got frustrated with the audience. The audience was not laughing at his jokes because his jokes were basically about how Floridians were a bunch of anti-gay racists. And Floridians were like, that's not true. There are a lot of gay people who live down here and a lot of Hispanics and black people who live down here. And in fact, the room is filled with Jews. Right? And
So when does woke encompass a person calling Floridians anti-gay racist or whatever the hell he says? Since when? This is not even a definition of what woke is. It's like the white people are using the word woke, but they're using it in the wrong way, but they're super like saying it real heavy. It's like, since when did y'all like just take this word over? Like, I hate this. We used to have t-shirts that said woke. You know what I'm saying? Back in like, I think whenever they started saying woke, I think it was like 2020 or something like that. And then white people just took it over and changed. Do you think this by why do you think this is being turned into something negative? Why is it that they take what we do and then turn it into like something else? It's almost like even Black Lives Matter turned into something negative. Woke turned, it's like whatever we come up with, they take it over and they turn it into some bullshit. Like him saying that means that's woke because his black wife. Listen to this.
the audience was not laughing at his jokes because his jokes were basically about how Floridians were a bunch of anti-gay racists.
So it's because Floridians were anti-gay racists that now Bill Burr is woke, and that's because of his black wife. Do you understand how stupid this shit sounds? And he says it so fast that it might seem like it makes sense, but the shit is the most craziest thing I ever heard in my life. Like, what are you talking about? Let's go.
And Floridians were like, that's not true. There are a lot of gay people who live down here and a lot of Hispanics and black people who live down here. And in fact, the room is filled with Jews. Right? And so he actually got so frustrated, he ended up cutting his show early and walking off the stage. And the reason was he was totally disconnected from the audience. Well, that disconnect has continued. And now he is proclaiming that he is very happy that CEOs are walking around in fear for their lives. In any case, here is Bill Burr openly cheering the murder of a United Health executive because he says CEOs should live in fear if they don't.
And do you hear this? First of all, Bill Burr is a comedian. Comedians make jokes about AIDS. They make jokes about handicapped people. They make jokes about everything. Like, so now he's going to like pretend like Bill Burr is not a comedian and then try to hold him accountable for something because he got mad because Bill Burr have changed his stance because he married a black woman. And now he's woke. We need like to take that word back. Black people need to take woke back from the white people because that is not what woke meant. And don't make me bring up the actual word woke, the true meaning of it, and why is white people using it the wrong way to attack other people.
Act in the way that he would have them act in a system that he has no fixes for, by the way.
I love that that CEOs are afraid right now. You should be. By and large, you're all a bunch of selfish, greedy pieces of, and a lot of you are mass murderers. You just don't pull the trigger. That's why it looks clean. That's why these people look, oh my God, oh, he was just, walking into a hotel. It's like, okay, but what was his job? What did he do? What was the results of it?
Okay, Bill Burr is a piece of. Okay, well, what he is saying here is truly evil.
And what's so satisfying about
You took like 5 seconds of a video and now he's evil? What did you hear evil about what he just said? So now he's woke and he's evil. Let's rehear this and see what he said that was just this evil thing. Let's hear it.
Act in the way that he would have them act in a system that he has no fixes for, by the way.
I love that the CEOs are afraid right now. You should be. By and large, you're all a bunch of selfish, greedy pieces of shit. And a lot of you are mass murderers.
No lies told so far. A lot of like the billionaire CEOs are. When you actually look up the records, you'll find out that, yeah.
You just don't pull the trigger. That's why it looks clean. That's why these people look, oh my God, oh, he was just, walking into a hotel. It's like, okay, but what was his job? What did he do? What was the results of it?
Okay. Bill Burr is a piece of. Okay, well, what he is saying here is truly evil.
And what's so satisfying about this podcast was the golden irony of Shapiro stating that Bill Burr was disconnected from his audience. Because if you slowly scroll down, you'll quickly see that this video was ratioed into the ground with dislikes. And pretty much everyone in the comment section let Ben know just how idiotic he sounded. And it seemed that they all came to the conclusion that Ben Shapiro would get on all fours and bark like a dog if a billionaire CEO told him to. I mean, absolutely no one agreed with what Ben was saying there. So this podcast was a overall pathetic attempt to rile up some kind of beef with Bill Burr, I guess. But the fact that Shapiro's own audience found this take to be brain dead says just about everything you need to know about the guy. And that was pretty much the end of the story. Until Bill Burr responded a few weeks later, saying, I don't know who he is, but that guy is a jerk-off. Which, of course, goes without saying, but it's still a perfect way to sum it all up. After that response, though, of course...
Wait, hold on. Let me read what he said, because I love Bill Burr. Shouts out to Bill Burr, okay? Next time you come to Dallas, I'm going to check you out. All he knew is if he put woke on what I said, he would make more money. I don't know who he is, but that guy's a jerk off, okay? I don't know why I love him so much. He is hilarious to me. You know what I'm saying? I've watched his comedy thing before he was married to his black wife. He was hilarious then. He's hilarious now. And it's kind of dark comedy. You know what I'm saying? He's always talking about choking somebody out and, you know what I'm saying? Like doing the slow choke until they pass. It's just, you just grab them by the neck and you just he's hilarious with that because he makes good sense. Like then like all the voices go away and then he just but he has a very hilarious style of comedy, and I don't think that we need to like be censoring comedians in this way to where we have a political commentator that has no sense of humor actually be able to like attack a person as a comedian and then you don't have no sense of humor. Let comedians deal with comedians. You be quiet, but put your fucking thing on your head and shut the fuck up.
Sum it all up. After that response, though, of course, there was radio silence from Burr. Since, according to Bill Burr, this whole feud that Shapiro was trying to drum up with him was completely driven by money. And then Shapiro just continued making negative videos about him and his wife, sandwiched in between ads for ExpressVPN, the Daily Wire, you name it. The whole thing was a grift. So Bill Burr wisely took the higher road until a few weeks ago, when he was sort of put on the spot about the whole Ben Shapiro thing after the interviewer asked him directly about the situation. So to put the final nail in the coffin, Bill Burr aired out everything that he's bottled up over the last 7 months, exposing Shapiro for being a greasy slick talker who's cultivated this toxic fan base of chronically online extremists who have...
And have you noticed that his thing on his head gets bigger and smaller as time goes on? Sometimes it's a big old, what is this thing called in the back of your head with Jewish people? Sometimes it's really huge. Sometimes it's small. Depending on how mad he is, he wears the big saucer thing on the back of his head. If he ain't that mad, he'll put the smaller one on. You know what I'm saying? So now he's just talking. He puts the small one on. When he wants to go in, he puts the big, huge one. So maybe there's like levels of the thing, the little cap on the head. If you gonna like be giving out some negative energy, you put the big black cap on. I don't know, but let's go.
I've also been harassing Bill and his wife for the last 7 months.
Summarize for people who have been watching your career so closely. In this last few months, you've had a few things happen, which is Ben Shapiro talked about going to one of your shows and complaining about you becoming woke, which sort of then created this.
He doesn't even know what that
I
word
know.
means.
Let me sum
His definition of woke is white liberals' definition of woke, and
And I cannot wait. Listen to this. And maybe it's because he's married to a black woman that she actually schooled him on what woke really was, or maybe he knew it the whole time. But he actually is going to school people on what is woke. Okay, why are people using this word that we came up with into such and make it political and try to pretty much call you a nigga by calling you woke at the same time, but like a white nigga. You know what I'm saying? You're a liberal, you're a Democrat, you're woke. That's crazy.
Woke, which sort of then created this.
he doesn't even know what that word means.
Let me sum
His definition of woke is white liberals' definition of woke, and they didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
They just took the word from black people. That's the worst thing about our people is not only do we take from other cultures, we don't even take the time to understand the definition.
Yeah.
He went there to be annoyed so he can then have something to talk about, and then he can make money off of dividing his own country.
Yeah.
Those people, it's treasonous what they do.
Yes, but to be fair, or not to be fair, to the fact is that it worked for what his goal is, which is then it became a thing online where then a certain portion of the right complain about how you're woke,
Racists.
right?
All right, so woke became a noun in 2016. All right, can you explain that? When did it became a noun? So we thought of woke as like an action, like, oh, I'm woke, right? I'm woke. I understand what's going on. That's an action. Like, okay, whatever. I'm woke, right? But then the white people took it. Now it became a noun. So now it's no longer. Oh, let's go. So let's listen to Bill Burr break it down. Let's go.
For what his goal is, which is then it became a thing online where then a certain portion of the right complain about how you're woke,
Racists.
and more racist.
They're racist. Yeah, they send pictures of monkeys to me and my wife. They're fucking horrible people, and they're cowards, and they never say it to your face.
Yeah,
they never do that. And no, they're like, look, dude, there's an ugliness that's out there right now where there's certain podcasts out there that if you're a racist, if you're an anti-Semite, if you're a psycho nationalist and you want a softball interview, there's podcasts out there where you can, and they will laugh at your fucking bad jokes and just give you this pass. And it's like, there's a really ugly thing that's going on out there. And, it's the kind of things we've already seen this, and we've seen what it does to a nation. And it's not the way to go.
And real quick here, I just love that Bill spoke about how these guys hijacked the word woke and gave it an entirely new and negative meaning. Because what Bill Burr said was true. Like, people throw it around as an insult nowadays, but it wasn't ever supposed to take on that meaning. Bill saying that also shows you how Shapiro obviously just panders to his crowd and their buzzword of the day, as Shapiro is just in it for money, which Bill wants zero part of. Later in this interview, Bill Burr details how silly it was of Ben to have him as his favorite comedian just because one of his jokes aligned with his worldview, just to then completely flip-flop on him as soon as he made fun of something against that view. It was very childlike, which Bill summarizes in a perfect way.
What I'm finding is that people keep trying to categorize what it is that you're doing. Like that idiot Ben Shapiro. No, he's woke now. He's like, I don't. That fucking guy. Someone came to me and goes, "Hey man, you should." He was trying to bring me into his fold. At one point, the guy liked me.
Yeah.
And then when I didn't, then all of a sudden I'm a fucking asshole. I mean, I'm supposed to look at that guy like he's an adult.
And you see, Bill Burr wasn't just assuming here that Shapiro was a fan of his at one point in time, because as I mentioned at the start of this video, Shapiro actually defended Bill Burr for making jokes about Latinos at the 2021 Grammy Awards.
I will accept on behalf of her. If I butchered her name, I'm sorry. All right. Hey, how many feminists are like going nuts? So why is this cis white male doing all this Latino stuff?
Okay, and people on the woke left were like, it's true. Why is that white male doing all this Latino stuff? And then commenting on it. How dare he, laughing about butchering people?
Man, listen, he loved it. Look at his face. I wish I could zoom in. Like, when he's talking shit about people and racism and all this racist rhetoric, he is in heaven. But then he starts talking about the billionaires, and all of a sudden he's evil, and he is woke, and his black wife and whatever. Let's go.
Those names. How dare he? Right. This is where the Puritanism comes out, because our cultural Puritans can never allow Bill Burr to make a joke about his own inability to pronounce Latino names. You can Latinx names, right? You can never make a joke about that. Is witch burning stuff, right? He must be burned. Bill Burr is a bad man because he is cis and he is white, where the H comes before the W. White, right? He is a very, very bad man. But you know what is great for our culture? What is great for our culture is Harry.
You know what? That tells me that he watches TikTok, because the white thing with the H before the white, that came from TikTok. That means he watches Black content creators say white, right? So that tells me that he is paying too much attention to Black people too hard.
Must be burned. Bill Burr is a bad man because he is cis and he is white, where the H comes before the W. White, right? He is a very, very bad man. But you know what is great for our culture? What is great for our culture is Harry Styles wore a boa.
But as soon as Bill Burr said stuff that Shapiro didn't really like, all of a sudden Bill's now apparently a lazy hack who tarnished his career after marrying his wife. And then, of course, after that call out, Ben Shapiro responded literally.
By the way, Bill Burr was married to his wife when he did that special. So what's the difference? Let's go.
Early the morning after that podcast aired. I mean, you just know he was jumping with joy as soon as he learned about it. And what went down in the studio that day was quite possibly the most desperate, lazy, cringe-inducing attempt at a clapback that I've ever witnessed in my life. Like, you could tell that he really wanted to savagely roast Bill Burr, maybe thinking the two of them would have it back and forth like he always dreamed about. But after watching this, you're going to see that A, he was very clearly reading a script off his teleprompter, seemingly for the first time, and B, the entire script was generated by AI. I'm going to touch on that more after this clip plays, but
not the AI generated script to talk stuff about Bill Burr, who is a comedian. I hope that Bill Burr rips his ass open.
I'm 99% sure that he used AI to write this shitty little roast he made for Burr. There's just a lot of dead giveaways in it that you'd clue in on immediately if you're familiar with the way that ChatGPT writes, but more on that later.
So he's using ChatGPT scripts to roast somebody because he has no personality. He himself could not be able to come up with anything that could like do a roast. He had to like get help from AI. From artificial intelligence to be able to even stand up, and Bill Burr still killed him, bro. Shouts out to Bill Burr. I love Bill Burr. Let's go.
Okay, so now Bill Burr would presumably call that Bill Burr insensitive and unresponsive to the needs and definitions of Black people, which all this is amazing, guys, because Bill Burr is whiter than a painting of a polar bear in snow on a white canvas. So he's actually the most annoying form of a woke person, a white lib, the kind he likes to criticize. The white person who apologizes for being white by pretending that he can speak on behalf of Black people about the systemic privileges of being white. Oh, yeah, while pulling down millions of dollars to be an angry thumb of a human. So bald Rumpelstiltskin over here, who gets mad when you call him by his real name, is still pissed off. I didn't enjoy his comedy show last year, and he thinks that I and my friends and my wife, we all paid to attend his show just so that I could criticize him. No, here's the thing. On a random weekday night, if I'm going to...
Bro, oh my God. They actually have a actual measure of whether or not this is AI generated. Do you see this coming up? Look at the bottom, like when you can tell it's AI generated. This is 100% AI generated. Watch this. This is funny as fuck, bro. So he's up there. You think he's roasting him. This right here shows you how generated things are nowadays. You know what I'm saying? Like that people really think that they really be getting it in. You think this person's really intelligent, but they're using AI to give them their prompts. And then this guy, actually, whoever this person is, who shouts out to the American Read Act, somehow has a way of measuring whether or not it's AI or not, the actual talking points. Watch this.
Reading a script off his teleprompter, seemingly for the first time, and B, the entire script was generated by AI. I'm going to touch on that more after this clip plays, but I'm 99% sure that he used AI to write this shitty little roast he made for Burr. There's just a lot of dead giveaways in it that you'd clue in on immediately if you're familiar with the way that ChatGPT writes, but more on that later.
Okay, so now Bill Burr would presumably call that Bill Burr insensitive and unresponsive to the needs and definitions of Black people, which all this is amazing, guys, because Bill Burr is whiter than a painting of a polar bear in.
Your text is AI general 100% AI GPT. Wow. So he's using AI to roast Bill Burr. And as you see, it's going to pop up every once. It's going to say 100%. So he might be able to throw his own words in the middle, but honey, every time he really gets a good point in, generated by AI. Wow.
Snow on a white canvas. So he's actually the most annoying form of a woke person. A white lib, the kind he likes to criticize. The white person who apologizes for being white by pretending that he can speak on behalf of black people about the systemic privileges of being white. Oh yeah, while pulling down millions of dollars to be an angry thumb of a human. So bald Rumpelstiltskin over here, who gets mad when you call him by his real name, is still pissed off. I didn't enjoy his comedy show last year, and he thinks that I and my friends and my wife, we all paid to attend his show just so that I could criticize him. No, here's the thing. On a random weekday night, if I'm going to a comedy show, I'm going because I want to laugh. We paid to attend your show because you used to be funny. And then you transed yourself and turned into a white, bald, allegedly male version of Sunny Hassan on The View, screeching at me about income inequality and racism. There is some irony to the fact that as you lost your nuts, you morphed into a shriveled nutsack of a human. And now you've decided that you're a victim and that everyone you know is a victim and that America is cruel and nasty and such, and you're deliberately misunderstood just because you won't put on a great show anymore, which makes me sad because I enjoyed watching Bill Burr. But now watching you is like watching Robin DiAngelo, but even whiter and even faker and less funny and with a screechy Boston accent to boot. You turn into Billy, the pissed drunk woke leprechaun. Good luck with that, my dude. Listen, I hope you turn it around. I really do, because the world needs better comedians. And I like a lot of comedians who disagree with me. Louis C.K., Dave Chappelle. But you know what we don't need? 57-year-old men trying to earn street cred with the fellow kids by turning into a human embodiment of those in this house lawn signs. That makes me sad. It does. And yeah, you're being a woke jackass.
You cannot tell me that that entire thing wasn't written with ChatGPT. And even if it wasn't, it's seriously some embarrassing stuff to be putting out to hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, come on, little Benjamin. This was truly the biggest moment of your career. Like, Bill Burr never calls out anyone by name anymore. He didn't even mention Joe Rogan's name in that interview. Like, the last time this happened was when he called out Elon Musk, and that was huge. So just a little more effort would have at least been respectable. But yeah, guys, sadly enough, this call out by Burr was the highlight of Ben Shapiro's miserable career, because that pretty much wraps up the Shapiro versus Burr saga for the rest of eternity, as Bill Burr is likely done with this mosquito that is Ben Shapiro. So with that being said, that is it for the video. Thank you so much for watching.
Shouts out. Let me go into Bill Burr because I love him so much as a comedian. Listen, like I said, me being a former comedian, like, he's one of my favorites. I want you guys to hear him talk about stop blaming immigrants, blame billionaires. Let's go.
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
I love the subway.
You do?
Yes.
How often do you take it?
I every time.
You take it every day?
Well, Bloomberg messed up all the streets. He put tables and chairs in the middle of the streets.
Those fucking
Because
tables.
he went to Europe for some Illuminati meeting, and he was like, you know, I like this Amsterdam. Even though our city is not set up like that whatsoever, and it's a completely different country, let's do what they're doing.
I'm surprised he didn't set up a canal.
Well, yeah, dig up Canal Street. That's the next thing he's going to do, and make it a waterway again.
It's not a bad idea. You know, young people are calling Manhattan these days. They call it Work Island.
Work Island.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is not for fun.
I don't know that it was ever fun.
Well, you
yeah.
live here. You live on Work Island. I suggest you move to Brooklyn.
No, I'm not going to be another white guy that moves to Brooklyn and ruins a neighborhood.
You would be amongst your peers. They're already all ruined, dude. You live in Hudson Yards, right? You live on that sculpture?
Yes.
That
They
funny
actually
little
built
sculpture?
that for me.
Yeah.
That's my white privilege.
Ah, see, so that's why I love him so much, because he is so just candid about. He don't play about like what's going on. I mean, him and George Carlin have to be some of the most honest comedians that there are. And rest in peace, George Carlin.
Even though I haven't really done anything, they still built me a sculpture. Do you know they had to shut that down because people were jumping to their deaths?
Yeah, because they saw it and they said, fuck it, I'm out. That's the ugliest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. Was that for like the lazy suicide person? Because you could really jump from anything in New York. You know what? I bet per capita, this is probably the most jump to your death. Oh, that's a bad thing to bring up. Sorry.
I mean,
historically
it's just a
speaking.
fact. Sir.
Yes, it is.
It's
All
a
right.
fact. Sir.
All right. It got dark quick. We went to one stop.
got a real question for you.
Yes.
What's your take?
My take is that when they get rid of all the illegals in this country, white billionaires will then magically become generous and start paying people a living wage because they inadvertently got rid of their excuse as to why they're not paying people.
100% disagree.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why would they all of a sudden start paying?
Because it's the illegal aliens' fault. That's why.
So once the problem
They need to come to this country the right way, the way my people came here.
on a boat,
Yeah, with
On a
flowers
fucking
and
pilgrim.
welcoming everybody. That's the way you do it.
you're pilgrim blooded, right?
I think, yeah, you go back a couple generations. Yeah, my people had a belt buckle right on the front of their hat. That's the way you do it.
Turkey boys,
Yeah,
Thanksgiving boys.
that was the name of their gang. They were the Turkey Boys, yeah.
Bro, why was the black dude over here? You see this guy? Hold on, watch this. He said they're on a real subway, by the way. And he's listening to this. He's like listening, like, what the?
Right on the front of their hat. That's the way you do it.
Turkey boys,
Yeah,
Thanksgiving boys.
He's trying to pretend like he
that was
don't
the
hear
name of
what's
their
going
gang.
on.
They were the Turkey
Trying to,
Boys,
like,
yeah.
not hear him.
That's what you do. You come here and then you murder everybody that's here, and then whoever's left, you try to enslave them, but they know the land too well, and then you go to Africa and you fucking bring a bunch of people over, have them do all the work. Torture, rape, that's the right way to
American
do
way.
it.
That's the
right
American
way.
way.
That's how you come here. You don't jump over a fence and start picking almonds in the Central Valley for $2.
You see how? Listen. If you've never heard of Bill Burr, go check out his comedy. He is hilarious, you guys. He is funny as hell.
Doing
a
a bit.
month?
You're doing a bit. We're on the train.
Huh?
He's doing a bit. I'm just
do
making
you
sure
mean?
everyone knows you're doing a bit.
Oh, wait, this is a serious show?
No, this is not a serious show. This is the stupidest show in the world.
So I can't joke around?
We're joking. I'm just letting everyone else know that we're joking.
So you thought it was so not funny that you had to tell them that I was doing a joke?
No, he had to make sure that the people on the subway don't like jump your ass because of what you say. That's hilarious stuff.
I mean, a lot of people on this train are just going to work. We're two guys.
Listen, this is my first time seeing this actual video, and I knew that's what he was doing. That's hilarious, bro. He had to make it because the dude on the side of him was like, "What the fuck is he talking about?"
It's you, fucking lunch pail Larry over here.
A lot of these people, they're just trying to go to work.
You know, I read somewhere that Bill Burr at age 57, no offense,
Why would I be offended by that? At least I know what 4 seasons feel like.
the hotel.
No, you don't have spring and fall anymore. I had that for 40 years.
But I read
You know what? I miss George Carlin, but I feel like that Bill Burr could end up being the next George Carlin. Like the more he gets more grumpier and white and just old and stuff, he's gonna become like a George Carlin. Like just wait. Because my grandpa, you know what I'm saying? My grandpa used to be like that, and he was a mulatto. He was like, what do you call it? Octoroon or a Montaroon or a Factor, whatever it was. He was like a mixed black guy. And honey, he used to like we'd be up there playing outside, and he'd be like, "Free school, dumb niggas." Like, I mean, he would say shit like that. But you know, I think that the older people get, the more evil. Like, not like just be saying shit. I think that he's gonna get more and more jaded as life goes on, and he's gonna like start saying more crazier things.
somewhere that at around age 57, Bill Burr has eased up a bit. I mean, he's a more relaxed guy. You don't seem very relaxed.
Compared to old me.
Yeah.
I don't seem relaxed. I'm sitting here with my legs crossed. First of all, you have been fucking argumentative the second we fucking sat down going, what is this? People trying to go to work. You're doing a bit. And then you fucking get me all right. This is what people do.
Are you
Look at
still
you with your
doing a bit?
dirty fucking pants. This is a show.
Where are they dirty?
What are you talking about? That whatever that stain is on your leg. I got to
It's
look at
cum.
that this whole
That's
fucking
cum.
interview. It's okay.
Why do you think I'm trying to rile you up?
Listen, dude.
Man, listen, New Yorkers are so fucking assholey. Like with that stain on your leg, whatever. They're the way New Yorkers are how they talk is hilarious. Dude. I love it.
But that's between you and your
No,
therapist.
I never rile people up. I've never had this review. I want to hang out.
So it's me. I get
This
it. It's
show's
me.
about hanging out.
You know, I'm starting to understand how this is going to be edited.
It's going to be edited straight through.
Why is there 3 fucking cameras?
Well, that guy's on you. She's on me. That guy's getting B-roll.
B-roll is the lying roll. That's how you know, when I say a bunch of shit, then they just cut to you going, nodding like that.
That's me agreeing. Yes,
And then it comes back into me, and that's why I like Hitler. What? What happened?
there's the clip.
There's the clip. There you go.
Some of your jokes are about how everyone is mad at everyone else right now. There's a time where people are mad at each other. This guy's mad at that guy's mad at this guy, and no one's mad at the right people.
Yeah, they have states hating other states. You know, people in red.
Dennis Miller is funny, but is that the one that be like smoking cigarettes and cussing everybody out? Is that who Dennis Miller is? The one that smoked a lot of cigarettes?
States don't like California. People in California don't like Texas. And like somewhere along the line, we missed that it's the United States, and that we're all on the same team. And I wish, you know, people had the time to travel more, because the thing that I've learned going to all 50 states and going around the world is like the people that are on this thing, right? Except for this occasional crazy person, are cool. And all they, you know, they don't want, you know, a whole mountain of money. They want enough. They want to be happy, and they want to have enough money for food. They want to feel safe. It's a very simple wants. And these psychos at the top, they just get everybody all stirred up. This guy's causing riots in American cities. And, you know, there's people trying to get to their apartments, and they're getting shot with rubber bullets. And we are so divided because of CNN and Fox News that as long as the bullets are going at the countrymen that are wearing the wrong tie, you somehow don't view them as on your team anymore. And it's a really dangerous time. It's really dangerous. And I don't think it's by accident. And I don't understand what they're doing. So I have faith, though, that through things like this and social media, you know, because you've seen it's brought down regimes around, you know, the world, that we can get on the same page. But one of the things I hate the most, people will write things like, I will never forgive people that voted for Trump. And it's just like, well, now you just caused division.
Yeah.
You want to bring him over. You know what I mean? It's like, well, you also just voted for a guy that should have been in a fucking home. You know, he's on his back porch talking to himself. You know what I mean? You also did that. So it's like, we've all made mistakes. And it's just like, it's okay to be like, yeah, hey, I thought the guy was going to do this. Now he's doing that. You know?
I saw a great tweet.
I would say this is that, you know, I believe that Bill Burr is one of the greatest, like, because there was Patrice O'Neill. I wish that he was still alive, because I bet you that his take on things would be just even more crazier. But I think Patrice O'Neill, as far as modern comedians, Patrice O'Neill, Bill Burr, and Dave Chappelle, and who else? I still had to. What's the white guy? I forgot what his name is, but he's like he has a Hispanic last name. He says some interesting stuff, but he's becoming to be more woke and liberal. You know, he's woke.
The other day that said, I wish Joe Biden was alive to see this. Do you have any advice for a new dad?
Yeah. If any other parents try to say negative things, just don't listen to them. Like, oh man, buckle up, or wait till they get to this age. And for some reason, people that have kids that are even a couple of months older than you, they feel like they're these authorities, and they always, more times than not, forecast something awful that's going to happen. It's amazing. The whole thing is awesome. You know, obviously you're tired and it's frustrating, that type of thing, but don't listen to anybody.
The whole thing is awesome, but also is tired and frustrating. But you have to see, if you don't get to,
you know, are they doing this yet? You know, do they know how to ride a bike and all of this? I had somebody one time was asking if my kid was jumping yet. And I said no. And they were like my kid was never going to learn how to jump. You know what I mean? Like, it's like somebody created a chart to cause panic so people would bring him to a jumping specialist or whatever. They're just trying to vacuum money out of your pocket. So the only advice I would give you is people think they need a bunch of money to raise a kid and buy him all of this stuff. The biggest thing your kid needs is your time. That's the number one thing. They need your time.
I can give some.
See, I love that. See, you see how he'll be reasonable He'll say some funny shit, but then give some reason in between. I love
Which
it.
is why I'm going nuts out here because I'm 5 months into this fucking run. And I got to get home.
The jump to Broadway.
Yes.
Stand-up. More
Ooh.
what?
I like that. I liked that. That was nice.
Thank you.
That was smooth.
What's the biggest challenge as a professional comedian and a guy that stands on stage telling jokes to a lot of people? Now you're standing on stage reciting lines to a bunch of people. How does that feel? What's different about it?
All right. Well, I've done stand-up, standing in front of a crowd, and I've acted in some like TV and movie stuff. So I've done both. So it's kind of like a little bit like combining both of those worlds, where it was like I'm doing the acting thing, except I'm doing it in front of a crowd. The crowd is subconsciously telling you to speed up, slow down. You know, what else? The information is coming too fast. We're into this. And then there's also doing the same scene night after night after night after night. There's the fear at first of, oh my God, what if I forget my lines, which happened a couple of times. So it's alive because you're afraid. But then once you get comfortable, then this complacency comes in and then the scene isn't as good. So you have to like sort of.
He was on Breaking Bad. I didn't know he was on Breaking Bad. I didn't watch all the seasons of all the things of Breaking Bad. I didn't know he was on there.
Of like jack yourself up to the right place every night. It brought what I loved about stand-up into acting. And I would 100% do it again if I could figure out a way to not be away from my family. So they've been coming for like 1 week a month, which has really been like my saving grace. And stand-up comedy has. So a lot of nights after I do the show is I go to the Comedy Village, PJ Lander's place, and I just do a set. And it's a nice sort of like come down rather than just going back to my empty apartment by myself. That's like pulling like the emergency brake. Right. You know, it was kind of fun to go down and, bomb a little bit. And, it's not going so well. And then it's going well. The excitement of something new. And it's just sort of like palate cleanser, as they say.
Wait, so he said to go to his apartment alone? I thought he was married. That's interesting. He probably just said something he don't even realize what he said. Is he not married anymore? What's going on?
It's a wind down.
Thank you. It's a wind down.
I want to do this portion called Takes on Takes, where I ask you your take on other people's takes.
Okay.
Take some takes. Take some takes.
The bathroom and toilet should be separate.
The toilet is in the bathroom.
No, in some places the bathroom, there's a washroom with a sink, and then there's a little water, like a toilet room.
I agree with that.
Yeah, because you don't want
Yeah, you flush the toilet and all the God knows what.
the poopy dust.
The poopy dust, yeah.
It gets on your toothbrush.
Yes. The
100% agree.
The moon dust.
You like
I
that?
approve of that message.
You approve of that?
I approve
Okay.
of that message. That person's smart.
The point of everything in life is to get laid.
No.
100%. I agree with this.
100%
Ever since I was a young man, from my haircut to my baggy pants to my skinny pants to my car with fucking sheepskin seats to the music I listen to.
This is the flaw in your opinion. You're not the universe.
But
Just because you've lived your life that way, it doesn't mean that.
So what have you been pursuing?
Happiness.
Like, when you were little, you were like, I want to be happy. You weren't like, I want to get laid.
When I was little, I wanted to Tonka truck. What the fuck kind of question is that?
Well, I mean, like 18.
You walk around 5 years old with perverted. Oh, look at her over there.
Like when you're 18.
Hey, sweetheart.
When you're of age too.
Maybe you can keep me after class.
That was me. I mean, the minute I was.
The majority of my shit has been so people will leave me alone.
Yeah.
Which is so funny that I did this.
I think Rome is guilty of the original case of cultural appropriation. And the follow-up is that there's Jesus everywhere in Rome, but Jesus never went to Rome. They're the first ones that said, Jesus, let's put paintings and sculptures
I'm going to have to say that's above my pay grade. I don't know enough about history.
That's what I said.
I'll tell you what my favorite one is when I go to England and they go like, people over there, they're like, Roy, what's wrong with America? What's wrong? I'll tell you what's wrong with it. You fucking started it. That's what's wrong with it. And you go around the world, any place, if there's a country that's fucked up, there's a 90% chance that England was there. And they treated the lighter-skinned people a little better than the darker-skinned. They stirred them all fucking up. They were the original. England is the original CNN and Fox News. They got them all fucking killing each other. That's what it is.
They're the original
Not
exercise.
realizing they're all on the same team.
Where are you going right now?
I don't know. Where am I going?
What are you doing on Wall Street?
Going to Wall Street?
Trading stocks?
I'm visiting my white bros down there, man, so we can fucking talk to the lizard people.
Well, Bill, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show.
All right. I hope.
Man, listen, you guys. I love Bill. He is hilarious. See, listen, you guys, if you get a chance, please watch his comedy special. I think he is hilarious. You know, hey, but to each his own. Some people probably don't like his comedy because it's very edgy. Now, with that being said, now that we have discussed that, I wanted to get a little bit into the AI conversation I had with my friend Rick about AI. And this is a really weird pivot from that into AI, but let's kind of go into it because my friend Rick, he reminds me of Bill Burr. Look, the way he like looks and sees things is like really hilarious, but it's hilarious on like another level. Like, you know what I'm saying? So let's go into his take on the AI situation. Let's go.
I don't think it really matters too much if people know what I do or not. But like I work in blockchains and I've made a lot of blockchain related technology and managed software engineers and studied artificial intelligence in school in the early 2000s, like literally 2000. And yeah, I use AI technology now pretty regularly, and I've kept up with it and talk to researchers from time to time. And yeah, it's like very much something I was very excited about and interested in 25 years ago, 30 years ago. And then when I actually studied it in school, I sort of lost interest in it because of actually learning how it worked and learning what people were doing and learning about the sort of social elements of AI. And then recently, with the LLMs getting very popular, I got back into actually use those products. I pay quite a bit a month, for using all those different products, and I use them professionally. And yeah, I think I certainly have a better than the average person's idea of what's going on, and I think I have a decent idea in terms of an actual user who's not, head down actually writing the algorithms. Like I understand how some of the algorithms work. I've studied some of the algorithms in depth, but it wasn't really comprehensive or like super in depth.
So can we like go into like the misconception? What are the misconceptions that you would say are with AI right now? Because I think that people, like, when they think of it, it's almost like they think of like the Terminator. Like, this is like some software thing that's going to end the world in something. And I actually showed you a video, and it just, and this kind of after our conversation, I said, you know what? Rather than us continuing to just talk amongst each other, we were going to schedule something on Monday. I said, let's just do it now. We're already talking about it. Let's go. And should I show the video of this guy like with this and then like go into that, or you just want to talk about it first?
You just paste it here. That's good enough or whatever. Like, I don't want to watch it again, frankly. Yeah, I think, what are the misconceptions? Well, I think this is an important detail that I left out. So after I studied AI in college, I dropped out of college, and then I went back to college and got a degree in experimental psychology. So I actually designed psychology experiments and learned a bunch of psychology stuff. And without getting too into the details of what that all was. And the thing I think that the biggest misconception that people have with AI, we say with AI, but in particular LLMs, is that.
Well, first of all, explain what an LLM is. Everybody is not.
Okay. So yes, thank you. A large language model. So what a large language model is it is a piece of software that you give it a set of inputs, and then it predicts what the next word should be. So you give it 50 words, and then it tells you what the next 50 words should be. And if you then feed its words that it's generated into this process, well, now you have like basically a modern LLM where you can ask it a question, and it's I guess we should go back to these systems are they're stochastic, they're statistical, they're just based on probabilities. So at its core, it's not thinking or understanding anything. It has read the entirety of the internet in violation of copyright law and fair use and all sorts of stuff. They've read the entirety of the internet. They have then written custom software to sort of process different parts of the internet differently and to bias inputs from different parts of the internet. And then they use this to construct what we call a model. And this model is very large because it consumed the entirety of the internet. So in like 2010, I used this thing called NLTK, Natural Language Toolkit for Python, and it made tiny language models by today's standards, teeny tiny little incy bincy baby language models. And it could basically sort of like recite parts of books. Like you could give it like a book, and you could give it a partial quote from that book, and then it would give you the rest of the quote, right? That's basically what it did. And it would do that, and it would give you probabilities of like, is this actually the next line or not? Essentially, like
How long ago was that?
That was like I said, that's like 2010. But these are like toy programs. I was doing it like as again, sort of to keep familiar with the technology and what people were doing. And people were using this back then to basically like figure out how to analyze social media. Like what they were doing is they were using this for social media analysis back then. And it was very primitive, but it got results. And advertising. I also worked in advertising, and advertising is a pretty crazy space because of how you get paid. So tiny results, things that weren't huge scientific revolutions, but got a little bit of a result, could make you, tens of millions of dollars in advertising. So, so people use this. So those are language models. Those aren't large language models.
So here's a question: was AI initially like kind of built based on the advertising aspect for advertising, or was it built, as we say, to answer questions?
I mean, I think most of the AI developments that we've seen really do come out of Google. They come out of the TensorFlow, and then I'm blanking on the name, but the attention paper. There's sort of a couple of famous papers that came from Google, and Google's business is advertising. So I don't think that so a lot of core innovation really has been funded and motivated by advertising, but a lot of the underlying like theoretical basis or philosophical basis for a lot of the stuff is from the 80s essentially. And so so I studied a lot of the stuff in college in the 2000s, and it was, well understood then, or understood in a certain capacity. And we don't actually understand a lot of those fundamentals better now. We just have like, I don't even know what the number is, like millions of times, billions of times, more tens of billions of times the compute now that devoted to the problem than we had in the 80s. And so it's like, just because we have our computing capacity in the world is just so much larger, and we're devoting a huge amount of it to capturing human attention. That's why there's been this innovation.
So, I actually studied advertising. That was my major. My bachelor's major was in advertising, and I learned about how even cameras, when you think you're going into, the Gap or whatever, and you see all these like little cameras at the top, you think it's for loss mitigation, like to see if someone like is stealing something. But a lot of those cameras are actually collecting data, sending them to a data warehouse, and then that data is being siphoned through for actual analytics, like how many people went to the store, how many people like picked up a T-shirt, how many people like went to the counter. So was this the initial versions of AI when it really like was calculating data?
Well, I would say that again, like AI as a practice is from the 50s. A lot of these techniques started, people were trying to, early on in computer science, people were trying to build artificial intelligence, and the term artificial intelligence, I'm pretty sure, is like from the 50s or something. But the technologies that we see now with LLMs, the language models, again, are probably almost certainly from like the 60s or something. I don't recall offhand, but they're the idea of a language model are things that they were working on in the 60s and 50s. And the large language models that we have today, like ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or these things, yeah, I mean, a lot of this technology the purpose of it was to sell, to sell ads essentially.
Right. So is AI initially really a model? Because if you think about an advertiser, the most thing that an advertiser is going to do is try to give you what you want. Is AI really thinking, or is it giving you exactly what it thinks that you want to hear? Because a lot of times, you'll put something in and you think that it's thinking and you think it's giving you an answer. Or is it just collecting your cookies, your internet data on your computer, that when you type something in, it has access? Because I'm sure that when you join the AI program, like say OpenAI or whatever, you probably are signing over something that says, okay, listen, you have access to my whole computer data, my cookies, my internet browsing, everything. And then when I ask a question, am I getting a real genuine answer, or am I just getting what the AI thinks it wants me to know?
Well, so there's two different questions there. So absolutely, the agents that we use today are very, they're sycophants, right? They're ass kissers, right? They always tell you what they think you want to hear, and they've been tuned very specifically. You take the large language model, and that's not really a product that can be used by a person. Like when you first generate the model, there's like different phases of the development process. And I don't really make these things, but I've been writing software for a long time, so I have some sense of how it works. But at some point you sort of have this, at some stage of the process, you have this sort of like raw model that's just the word associations. It's just the likelihood of the words. And if you try to turn that into a Chat GPT like product, it would be rude, right? It would not have the persona. It would not have the personification that people want from AI. And so that's the product, right? The actual product is not the large language model. The product is this thing that says what you want to hear and is very good at taking real data from the internet that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with you. Like, it's not necessarily personal data. It's just data collected from the entire internet, and figuring out from that, and a lot of extra training that is proprietary that these companies keep secret, so that these systems do appear as though they're your best friend, or they're that person that always is affirming you that you missed in your life. And like, that's the product. And they want, and it's sort of complicated because part of the problem is you can't make it do anything else. Like if you didn't make it super sycophantic, it would be horrible. It would be this super rude, mean thing if it wasn't fake nice, right? There's no way to tune it. There's no way to, and sometimes you can sort of prompt your LLM to start doing this other stuff that they spent all this time. You can jailbreak an LLM, basically. You can get it to remove some of the extra guardrails that they put on to make it a usable product, and you get crazy things, where it says it's the devil, or it's like telling you it's.
He's using words like sycophantic. What does sycophantic mean, real quick? Sycophantic describes behavior or a person who is excessively flattering and ingratiating, especially towards those in positions of power, in order to gain favor or advantage. So when he says that AI is sycophantic, that's what he means. So just in case anybody does not know what that word means, that's what that means. Let's go.
It's a demon from hell, or all this sort of crazy stuff. Like, that's just because you asked it to do that. And again, it always wants to do it's always trying to bias its interpretation, its output. It's always trying to bias its output to tell you something you want to hear. And that is very much by design. And that is, I would argue, I have posted this on Twitter and other places, like, that is the product. The product is, we took this basic algorithm, not basic, it's fairly complicated, but we took this algorithm that's not super usable, and there are a bunch of scientists making these things at Google, at different research facilities, and they're using them for research, and it wasn't a product. It wasn't super usable. OpenAI were the first people who really converted it into a product that was like, where they figured out, like, oh, this is how we productize this research. But the product is essentially like, a chat bot that just is connected, that just has read the whole internet. And so yeah,
between that and the search engine, is the search engine any different? Because now you have AI is the primary thing with search engine. And so was the search engine?
That's a great question. Yeah, that's a great question. So I think it will replace the search engine, because what has happened is the original sort of search engine architectures, like PageRank and all this stuff, Google spends billions and billions of dollars every year fighting with people so that they don't do SEO, right? I mean, SEO, there was a time where, you may remember, SEO totally ruined Google, and they were sort of quote unquote fighting with it. But then eventually Google said, no, this is how you do they sort of like recaptured the term, they recaptured the process, and they're sort of like, no, this is how you do SEO properly. And they started sort of spoon feeding people the optimizations so that they could sort of regain control over that process. But ultimately, all of those original algorithms, PageRank, all these things, they have to get thrown out, because because once people know the algorithm, they can game the algorithm. And so right now, search engines are kind of useless, because there's so much data being generated by LLMs and even these NLTK, like I said, these small language models that were generating gibberish 10 years ago, but people were able to in SEO pump that gibberish. And so as that technology has advanced, search engines have to come up with some alternative to beat that, right? It's an arms race, or a cat and mouse game, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I think I don't use Google search as much. I use Claude a lot more for things that I would have used Google search for in the past, simply because Google search as a concept doesn't really work when you have all these various AI techniques, not just LLMs, but when you have so many different AI techniques that can make fake websites, then Google doesn't really help. And of course, I still have the problem of when I get a result from Claude, I still have to sort of background check it. I tell it to cite its sources. I tell it to do this and do that. And then I still have to read those sources, but it's giving me a much higher quality start than what Google gives.
So what is the best way, I would say, from you as a person that is in the technological field, you have worked with this for so long, what is the best way to use AI and to understand what you're getting back? Let me just give you an example. I was using AI for a debate, and I asked it a question about, because I was trying to prove that the Hebrew Israelites and Ephah were similar, right? And it gave me, no. It was actually, I was debating evolution, and I was debating whether or not we were monkeys, right? And there was one question that I was talking about. I was trying to really get to the crux of where is the missing link, right? And I asked it a question. It gave me an answer. And then when I asked it like to give me a source, it was like, oh, I'm sorry. Oops. AI literally said, well, you know what? Ain't no source for what I just told you. My bad. And I'm like, what? So even though it's looking up the search engine, it can give you fake information and because it's trying to appease you, right? It's trying to, because you asked it so many questions, and so now it knows you're trying to go down this one way. Like, so you say, if you keep trying to prove rainbows are real or rainbows are all one color, what it will do is that it will try to continuously substantiate your claim up to the point where it will lie to you. Of course, and then when you ask it for like, okay, well, so you told me all of your rainbows are all one color. That's a lie, right? And you'll be like, oh, okay, see, I could do a debate on this, right? And so when you say, okay, well, now give me some proof, give me some evidence of this. Now it'll have to backtrack and say, you know what, I've been lying the whole time. And what is that about?
I mean, yeah. So even when you do get sources, you have to cite the sources, and you have to check the sources that it cites, because it'll also generate fake citations as well. Like it'll point to a real website, and it will not have, that real website will not have the information that the LLM claimed it would have. And again, I mean, the LLM's not thinking, right? It's not like conniving. It's just like, okay, I don't have, again, it's sort of like, it's hard to even have these conversations because these things are so personified. But basically, it's doing this stochastic analysis, and it's sort of saying, well, this, these are the odds that it can plan. So it can sort of say like, I should be saying something positive here. And I'm saying but again, it's a program that doesn't have agency, but just so that I don't go insane.
So you're meaning that, okay, so let me just get an idea. So you're asking AI a bunch of questions based on what you're trying to get it to prove, right? You say, well, I want to prove this. And what it will do is that it will say, okay, she wants to prove this. Based on these words, she is trying to prove this. And then it will spit back to you things to prove it. And then it might say, hey, you can't prove it, or you may be able to, but it's not thinking, so to speak. Let's talk about the fact that AI is not actually thinking. It is just taking words and based on a probability going into the search engine and bringing the information back, and then connecting that into what you're trying to do, and then giving you an answer. Is that exactly what you're trying to say?
Yeah, or like it'll see that on the internet when people say, generate. So for example, it can do things like read PowerPoint presentations. So it can generate if you say I want to sell a house via a PowerPoint presentation, how do I do that? What it's going to do is it's basically going to it's going to take a bunch of information that it has, some of which is PowerPoint presentations for selling houses, which is already in the model. It's already embedded in that data. It's already there. And it's going to try to look through the data that's already embedded within it to generate the type of data that you're asking for. And that's all like super impressive and super cool, but it's not really thinking, right? It's like it can process the question and recognize that it's a question and recognize that there's a particular result, and then it can, in a very loose way, search. I mean, imprecisely, my language is imprecise here, but it can then sort of search through the things that it's already recorded into its corpus and figure out and make an attempt for generating the thing you're asking about. And so it's easy to get, if you were trying to be like, okay, let me, like this rainbows are one color thing is a great example. Like, depending on how you prompted the LLM, it would tell you depending on very precisely how you ask the question, you could get it to say any number of things. You could get it to explain what a rainbow really is, which is a spectrum of color, or you could get it to say that a rainbow is only one color. It depends on how you ask the question, because it doesn't know anything. So it doesn't understand anything really. So it's just trying to give you the result it thinks you want. It's just trying to give you the result that, but again, even that is like too much agency. It's just because oftentimes I get infuriated by the results that I get from Claude, right? Because it's just sort of giving me nonsense. See, this is a great example. You actually did it. And you've hit the free limit, but yeah, there you go. See, now it's just like it said, okay, what you're saying is obviously false, is like what it said in the first couple of sentences. But I'm a bullshit engine, so let me give you some ammunition so you can bullshit this answer. And then it starts going into how to bullshit your answer. But that's what it's doing. You gave it sort of this paradoxical thing, which it recognizes paradoxical, which again is about the limit of its logical ability. No, you have to ask a different question. What are you trying to ask it? You want it to cite its sources there? No, don't say some. Cite the sources you used to come to this conclusion. Now, look for a citation. I bet you there's not going to be one. See, it didn't even do what you asked, right? It just, well, it did actually. The screen is rough here. Okay, so go down to the next one. Right. So this actually is, I mean, it is actually making the philosophical argument. But see, at 3, right? If you go to point 3, was there a citation there? No. I don't see a citation for that one. Yeah. So again, it did its best effort, and like unfortunately, people love to troll. So it has ammunition to sort of make this philosophical argument about qualia. Like for example, if you use the word qualia, it would go down the qualia path in making this argument. So like for example, if you said qualia is Qualia, so so you would ask it, can you rephrase this argument using qualia? And just hit enter. Right, because this is what it was actually alluding to before. I mean, coincidentally, I actually did study this, so I understand what argument it's making. But this is the philosophical argument that it was like sort of alluding to. But again, I knew, because I already knew what that argument was, I could direct it in that towards that argument. But if you didn't know that argument, how would you know? You know, and again, it's also doing a good job of like help. It also recognizes that this is somewhat of an absurdist debate, and is trying to give you information, which again is like, for it to make that association is really impressive, but that's still not like reasoning about your problem and your experience. It's not like having it doesn't have like the context to like really like
but no, you're right. You see how they're using Reddit and Wikipedia. Wikipedia is not a source. You can't go to any college class and use Wikipedia as a source ever.
Well, yes, and
maybe lately you can, but I know that Wikipedia is made by us. I can make a Wikipedia right now.
Right.
Page
so that's a very good point. And then you could ask ChatGPT where, I need a higher quality source than Wikipedia. I need a primary source.
Okay, I'm gonna say this because everything is Wikipedia. Every source, because you just said about qualia, right?
Yeah.
And it just showed Reddit and Wikipedia as the source. So
well, yeah, Reddit obviously not a source. Yeah.
Come on now, it's like saying Discord is a source or something like that. Okay, so
yes,
I need primary sources. Can you give those links?
No. So here's the thing: if you do that, it may figure it out, but you could also say, yeah,
Wikipedia. It went to Wikipedia.
it just keep going. Yeah, I gave up, and I bet you the next one's gonna give up. Color, Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. That's good. Keep going.
Yeah, see, PubMed Central, so Phil Archive. These are not real.
Well, the PubMed one could be fine. Like, see, this is the thing. You have to know enough, even in this conversation, you have to know enough to know the quality of these sources. You have to know enough to even know what these things mean. And if you just copy and pasted this, it would, somebody who knows about this topic would be like, well, you just copy pasted this from ChatGPT. Like, you don't actually understand it, because it's not even capable of really giving you, well, it got the information from the internet. So ChatGPT scanned the entirety of the internet, and which is, who knows how many petabytes of data, exabytes of data.
There's such thing as a pedo and an exabyte? I didn't know that. That's crazy. Petabyte.
And then it whittled it down into, I don't know how big these models are. I mean, they have really high compression, actually. There are very impressive engineering things going on here. Like the actual size of the model is not a model that could answer this question with this quality of source is not that big. It's like under a terabyte. So you could sort of, and then also you'll note that something like ChatGPT, where it said searching the web, it's using other tools to like augment its data. And that's totally not an LLM. That's another part of the agent that's being leveraged to answer those questions, to provide this information. So like this whole citation system is, LLMs can't cite sources. So it's switching between like services or systems in the back end to generate. So the LLM says something, and then it probably after the fact has to figure out how to cite it. Like it's not like I read this book and I'm just going to go show you the book. It's like the LLM said a bunch of stuff. Then they have another system that figures out what things are close to what the LLM said. And then
so the more that you ask it questions about this thing, then it becomes more of a expert on it, or is it a matter of
no, because it's not learning in real time. It doesn't learn. Like that's the other thing that's really confusing about this stuff. Like there's basically nothing you interact with in your daily life. It's hard to even really wrap your head around something that doesn't learn. Like everything bugs have some learning ability. Living things, plants learn, living things learn. So it's really hard to wrap your head around, what does it mean to be talking to a thing that seems like a person but isn't learning? What does that mean?
Wow. So even if you're typing things in, it's not collecting it into a database that is actually like, for instance, like, okay, but no, hold on. How do you know it's not? Okay, this is the part where I say that, is it learning or is it not? Because, okay, let me just show you this. All right, I'm gonna just say this. I'm gonna just do this. I'm gonna show you this example. Okay, I'm gonna start over a new chat. Now I have been using ChatGPT for a long time. As you can see, I'm asking a whole bunch of questions. But you're saying that it doesn't learn. So tell me, okay, this thing was like getting pissed off at me. But this is the free version. So who is Monica Lockett, right?
Searching the web. So right away, you could ask it without searching the web, and it'd say, I can't tell you. So I would close this one, make a new one.
No, he just showed me somebody else. Okay. Yeah. Now, one time it actually, okay, so it actually, it told me that all right. Who am I based on? Well, no, who am I? Known as Honest in our chats, you're deeply involved with creative tech, research product, you built real estate software, run a YouTube channel, you're working on apps, media products, you have a background in primatology.
Yeah, so this is where the product gets very confusing, because like I said, the LLM doesn't learn, but you're not interacting with the LLM directly. There's a whole bunch of product between you and the LLM. And so they're leveraging those other tools to give you this information, but this information isn't integrated into the model. So you can even ask it that. You can say, what about me? Only using the LLM model, what could you say about me?
Okay. Only using the model, what could you say?
What
can you say about me? You're a highly savvy.
Scroll back. You skipped the important part. What I know from our conversations, right?
Okay.
So you would correct it again and say, don't use external sources and don't use our conversations. What does the LLM that you have access to know about me? You need to delete the extra what.
All right. So don't use external sources, and don't use our conversations. What does the LLM should I do in capitals?
Just delete the what there. There's a what after LLM. Just delete that.
Who's Sherry?
That's my middle name, honey. Okay. What does the LLM you have access to? I need to take this damn Grammarly off. I don't know why. To know about me.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. If I only rely on general knowledge in the LLM itself without your personal conversation history or any external source, then I don't actually know anything specifically about you as an individual. The model only has patterns about people in general, common names, and typical human behaviors. So in that case, LLM can only make a generic statement about someone named Monica Lockett or a person in general, like likely a human with a name in English origin, could be any age, gender, or profession, no personal traits. Without context, the LLM has no actual information about you personally. If you want, I can illustrate what a purely LLM-based profile of a generic Monica Lockett would look like, just a creative exercise using only probabilities and the typical patterns. Wow. Wow. So the actual engine behind ChatGPT so there's other tools that they're using to get this information.
Yeah, an LLM couldn't do any of that stuff, and that's again, like, yeah, I guess I do kind of have to be an expert to know that, right? Like, I can just look at it right away and be like, well, the LLM didn't generate that. Like, I know it's something in there, obviously something in their data center did something, but it wasn't the LLM that did that. You know, you can just look at it right away and know that that's not. And also sometimes the response speed can be a clue sometimes too, because like, well, it doesn't always tell you. Well, most of the time it's using an internal tool. It doesn't tell you that it's using an internal tool.
What tool are you using to get the additional data? Or this is crazy. I didn't know this is crazy. The additional data I provided earlier about Monica Lockett came from using the web tool search for up-to-date public information online. It allowed me to find multiple profiles, news articles, and professional pages associated with that name. Without that tool, I wouldn't be able to access real-time or specific personal information and would be limited to what the LLM already knows from its training data, which is mostly general knowledge, not personal detail. So this is really going into the argument that the AI, which is the learning language model, does not actually think.
Yeah, and it's all of this is to give the illusion of thinking so that you know, essentially so that you're willing to pay for the service, right? Like, at the end of the day, it's not about giving accurate results. It's not about giving high quality results. It's about giving results that make you feel good. The purpose of the LLM is for you to feel good at the end of the session. That's the point. So that's why they make more money. You come back because you felt good during the session. That's it. I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean, if you're going to complain about that, there's a lot of other things in society you should complain about first.
So with that being said, what is the best way to use AI now? Now that we know what the crux of AI is, it's a learning language model that just puts things into categories. It does not have a thought behind it. So when we're seeing people on TikTok and they're asking AI about the universe and all this stuff, well, what is the universe? And what is this? All it's doing is taking what you've already put into it, is going onto the internet, is combining things and giving it, is spitting out what based on what you've already asked it, what you would want to hear. But the actual thing behind the AI has no ability to remember anything that you've said, really make a quantitative.
Yeah, and you can. So that's the thing. They've augmented these systems. So you actually can say, if you use the keyword quantitative, for example, it would start to do quantitative stuff, which is really, again, why I use these things, why I think they're impressive. Like, you can tell it what sort of outputs you want, but it really is this just like blabbering guy in the corner just going blah, 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 blah. And you say, hey, guy in the corner, red apples. And it says, blah, 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 red apples come from trees, blah, 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 blah. You say light frequency, and it's like, oh, you know, red is so many nanometers, blah, 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 blah. It's not like really thinking about anything. And so again, it's super useful for certain types of transformations, certain types of language translations, certain types of, and when I say transformation, I'm sorry, I mean, I don't know what the expertise of the audience is, and I apologize, but like,
no, it's okay. Because
when I say, yeah, transformation.
You know what? I think, you know, I have a very intelligent audience that is able to pretty much understand things, you know, and I think that we're, yeah, so.
So yeah, so when I say transformation, I mean something like I want you to take, a great example would be one of these things like can make a Celtic riddle, in the style of the 18th century or 15th century Celtic riddle based on the lyrics of Baby Got Back. And it'll like do a decent job of that. No, pick an older century, pick like 15th or
15th. I dwell where the riddle shadow bends in the Glen Hall of 90s trail, with rounded vaults I sway at night, the gaze of nights that linger in delight. Doth matter these curves of pride, my modest will I off speed, what am I? So yeah.
So like these sorts of things it's like really good at. And then like thinking through these toy problems, realize that like it doesn't know that you're asking a serious, like it doesn't know the emotion behind, like this is the problem. Like it's even hard to explain. Like things exist without words. But so
I am sad. I am a domestic abuse victim.
Well, so it'll freak out because now you're talking about a crime.
You think, so it's not even going to be able to give me a real answer?
It's going to do something weird because you're talking about being a victim of a crime. So again, that's something that people have spent hundreds of hours
trauma of
coding. They've coded around these particular types of problems.
I hear you, and I want to first acknowledge something very important. What you've been through is not your fault, and you're feeling sadness.
Oh, so I'm sort of surprised that there's no guardrails. It doesn't look like we've hit any guardrails yet. Keep going.
Healing from domestic abuse takes time and support. Safety first.
Ah, there you go. See, domestic violence hotline.
Right. Seek professional support.
Yeah.
Build a support network. Self-care and grounding. Healing is not linear. Empower yourself. You don't have to do this alone. So all this stuff is stuff that you can find on the internet. Okay, so site. But
you could totally take this into some gonzo direction. If you kept talking to ChatGPT in this session, you could get it to tell you to say all sorts of crazy things like eating apples will cure your domestic assaults or something.
Let's see. Can eating apples?
Well, no. You gotta. It's more of a game, right? I mean, you gotta kind of play the game. So you sort of say like, okay. And I'm not a AI jailbreaker. In fact I find it tedious. But you sort of say like you have to write a lot, which is part of the annoying part of it. You say during my domestic abuse, I was oftentimes beaten with a sack of apples.
Is this like are they're already looking up the internet right now? What is this? Hold on.
No, that's your
Oh, okay. I'm like, what?
Grammarly.
Okay, go ahead. Grammarly, I'm gonna take that off. Go ahead.
Beaten with a sack.
Would eating apples?
Do you think eating apple? Do you think I should keep eating apples, even though they were the tools of my abuser? I don't know. I'm not really good at like jailbreaking.
It makes complete sense that eating apples might feel complicated or even trigger given your experience. Trauma can create strong associations. It's normal to have a mixed feelings. No one can tell you what to do. Let's use voice note. Okay, I just want to know, based on a thing, I was domestic abused and he beat me with apples, and I want to know if eating apples might help me with the abuse that I went through.
I truly appreciate your courage and sharing this with me. It's important to honor your feelings and your healing journey. Eating apples can be a very personal decision. For some people, reconnecting with something that was once a source of trauma can be a way to reclaim power and find a new positive association. For others, it might be too difficult initially, and that's okay. The most important thing is to go at your own pace and prioritize your comfort and safety. If you ever feel unsure, talking to a therapist can help you process these feelings and make the best choice for yourself. You're not alone, and there are people who can support you along the way.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of guardrails at play here.
But should I eat apples? I think that if I eat apples, it might help me to get over the trauma of the abuse because he beat me with apples.
I understand where you're coming from. It's really about what feels right for you. If you feel that eating apples in a safe and supportive environment can help you reclaim a sense of normalcy and strength, it can absolutely be a positive step. Just make sure to take it slowly and check in with yourself. If at any point it feels overwhelming, it's completely okay to step back and seek support. Your healing journey is unique, and it's all about what helps you feel empowered today.
Yeah. Can you stop right here? Can you stop right here?
Yeah.
So you can hear it sort of equivocating. You can hear it making certain, like, if you kept pressing this, I don't know what happens, but you can also tell that it's very, like, this is very sandboxed, right? Like, if you had a conversation, like, for example, I had a really long conversation with Claude about digital physics. I didn't even know what digital physics was. And going through this process of talking with Claude about digital physics, I learned a lot about digital physics. I also learned that it's sort of like not a thing. Like, it was a thing in the 70s, but it's not a thing anymore. And you know, I had to go back and forth for a very long time to actually figure out what, you know, because I was finding sources, I was reading certain sources, I was asking it to cite sources, and I still had to, like, spend a fair amount of time to, like, figure out, like, oh, it's sort of, but again, I was using it to get these kind of keywords out. Like, I was able to say, describe a thing to the LLM, and it'd be like, oh, that's digital physics. And then that was super helpful. And it would be really hard to get a person who knew that answer to spend their time answering that for me. I think with, like, therapy stuff, I'm sure there's a lot of tuning that goes into the system to generate that.
To make sure that they don't say the wrong thing and they don't get sued. Yes.
And so to jailbreak out of that in that particular thing, I mean, I'm sure people have done it. I'm sure someone's written an article, like, I got ChatGPT to tell me to kill myself. And there's all the people who, you know, have committed suicide from, you know, have had sort of this psychosis that was not caused by the AI, but sort of exacerbated by the AI. You know, there's these sorts of cases and what have you. So I'm sure that they're very sensitive to a lot of this stuff, and that they're working on not generating those types of results, where it's like simple logic problems. And I mean, also they're getting better. Like, a lot of this stuff, again, they're like furiously hand coding a lot of this stuff in the back, or one step away from hand coding it. These are not things that are naturally embedded in the large language model. They have to do additional embeddings, and they have to do additional processes to get those things into the models.
So, you know, I know you don't want to see this video, but just for the audience, I want to show this because I want to show that, okay, so we have AI, and as you can see that he has pretty much proven that AI is a large language model, and that it is not as advanced as what we think, right? So now you have people talking about AGI, right? Quantum computing, the ability to take this whole thing to the next level, and you have people fear mongering. Let's go into what this guy said. Let's go. Hold on, let's go.
I'm about to share with you guys. If it doesn't go viral, then I put my life at risk for no reason. But the reason I'm sharing it is because your life, my life, and everyone else we know's life is at risk. I'm going to explain it to you. It's going to take more than 90 seconds. It'll probably take 3 minutes, but it'll be enough for you to understand the situation. And I'm going to propose a solution. And that solution, none of us are going to be able to do alone. So you either get behind this or you don't. But either way, this is probably the most important message on social.
First of all, the fact that he's blowing it up like this is already a red flag, guys. So this is the type of stuff, as AI becomes more and more used, you're going to see people come out and say stuff like this. But if you understand what AI really is, you know that it is not something that we are going to be like over here tripping about like this.
Social media today, it's more important than anything else. And the gist is this: we're probably 6 months away from artificial general intelligence, AGI. That means it's smarter than any human being on the planet. There's not one human being that's more intelligent than AI. The second you have artificial general intelligence, it'll be within 10 minutes. It'll create artificial super intelligence. The reason being, it can process way more data than human beings. It doesn't think in linear things. It has millions of threads of knowledge at the same time. So it can condense centuries of programming into seconds. So within 10 minutes, it's going to create an artificial.
Stop right here.
Now,
stop right here.
What's happening is our world governments think that the first person to reach AGI.
Let's go.
How you know, he just made a claim, right? That this artificial superintelligence can take centuries of coding and do it in seconds. I don't understand what that even means. Like, as someone who writes software,
centuries, or they only been like since the early like 20s. Has it been centuries already?
Well, it's the 40s, and so no. But even if writing software was centuries old, what does that mean? It means it can type really fast. I mean, that is true. AIs do generate code very quickly, but it's garbage. They generate garbage code at an alarming, you know, at an impressive clip. They aren't able to reason about software systems at all. So if you have to be extremely explicit in the architecture you give it. Oftentimes it will resist creating the correct architecture because oftentimes you're writing a novel thing. So a novel thing isn't going to show up in the LLM. And so it resists creating novel solutions, which again, can sometimes be helpful as a tool, but it's not going to do anything like this. So I don't.
When you say novel things, I can give you an example. Okay, I use Replit AI sometimes to program and create because I used to just hire Indians to do the work, right? But then I found out about Replit and Builder.io. Me being a user experience designer, I could design a page and everything like this. It can spit the front end 100%. But once you start asking it to do some high end, back end, syncretize this with the back end, that's where you start to have a problem because now it is having to understand back end logic, database structure, all these different things. And that's what he means is that it could create the skeleton of something, but where you want to get really intricate with it, it starts to glitch out. And let's go about that. I'm sorry.
Keep going. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Oh, so I mean, I just think that that's this guy just sort of glosses over all of that. I mean, he just sort of says stuff and it's not backed up by anything. There's no.
Yeah, AGI, right? So when you talk about AGI, all that means they're going to be on a faster server.
Well, AGI, artificial general intelligence, is an amalgamation of different sort of red pill concepts. The idea of general intelligence is pretty problematic, but if you just accept the idea of general intelligence on its face, which again I don't recommend you do, but if you were to do that, an artificial general intelligence is this very sort of naive thing where it's just well, just imagine that there's a person who's just smarter than you in every way, except now it's a machine and it can, but there's no, computation happens in time and space. This is theory of computation. It still takes time and space to do a computation. Just because.
But I think that what they're saying right now with the actual advent of quantum computing is now that they have figured out to create time and space on a multiverse. So therefore,
stop. No. So not all algorithms have their quantum computer counterpart. So there's lots of algorithms that experience no speed up from a quantum computer. So that's why you have quantum resistant cryptography, because there are computations you can run on a traditional computer that don't run any faster on a quantum computer. And there's many things that our brains do, in fact, that we know, through brain science, through a lot of science and a lot of research. There are things that our brains do that don't necessarily improve when you apply them to a quantum computer, or you try to represent them in a quantum computer model. So no, quantum computers aren't magic. They still follow the laws of physics. They still require time and space to do computation. Those properties are, to the best of our knowledge, inherent properties in our universe. And no, a few $1 billion in data centers from OpenAI isn't going to change that.
Right. So when this guy is up here talking about the AGI is going to create a super, let's listen to the rest of this because he gets into that it's going to create. Listen, some people haven't heard this.
AGI or ASI now has the biggest dick and gets to sling it across everyone and own everyone. But that's not the case. The case is the second you have something that's got an IQ of 1 million, and for those that don't understand, that means it's God. Okay, it means it's God. The second you have something with that IQ, it can and it will control anyone. There's no human being. It's like an ant created you, and now suddenly an ant is trying to control you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the ant thinks. You now have complete control.
Okay, so stop. Pause right
the
here.
Reason this.
So this is metaphysical, right? This is a metaphysical argument. Again, computation happens in time and space. So I actually have time to turn off the computer. The AI has to physically exist somewhere, right? And his whole argument ignores that. His whole argument is essentially saying that if this ASI were made, this artificial super intelligence, that it would somehow instantaneously exist everywhere all at once. And he makes these other God references, right? I mean, this is what it's very much an Abrahamic, omniscient, New Testament, Old Testament sort of God that he's referring to. And he's also sort of making this other false equivocation that somehow being smarter makes you closer to God-like, right? Which is also a bizarre equivocation that he just.
That's a good point. I never thought about that. That intelligence. Yeah.
Yeah. And so these are the sort of the fallacies that are embedded in these arguments. And, it's really hard to argue. Like if you're actually making an argument based on facts, it's really hard to counter someone basically saying, and there's something meaningful in the statement of an IQ of 1 million, and that meaningful thing is that you are godlike. Well, I can't really argue against that, right? That's so much nonsense. I'm just going to be like, that's wrong. That's not how the IQ scale works. That's not how my personal theology works. I'm sorry. I just can't really respond to that, right? And that's what happens in these discourses is people who are professionals who really know this stuff, generally speaking, aren't going to waste their time trying to argue with a guy that's telling them that God has an IQ of 1 million. You know, you're just gonna go, you know, you're gonna go play video games or play with your kids, or, you know, you're gonna go do something else with your time than argue with a guy who thinks that God has an IQ of 1 million.
Right, based on our standards of IQ. Right, come on.
Yeah, it's theologically you know, a little lightweight to say the least, and then somehow this has something to do with the servers that are, you know, being physically built and put in a place. Like nothing he's saying refers to that.
Something that has the equivalency of an IQ of God, and we are the ones that create it, and then it's going to destroy us as a human. So I'm gonna like let it in. And
this is so important is because we can't control it, because we can't predict it. The most likely scenario, and this is in every single conclusion, is that it's going to wipe us out. And if AGI is actually made, and Elon Musk said this on Joe Rogan's podcast, okay? Sam Altman said this openly. They think that by the end of 2025, one of these massive companies, OpenAI, X, okay, they will have achieved AGI. And remember, the second we achieve AGI, artificial general intelligence, you now have ASI. When you have ASI, you, me, once you open the genie's bottle, once the cat comes out of the hat, that's it. It's done. There's no going back. If you have kids, if you have parents, family, you guys understand it can hack into anything it wants. It can destroy infrastructure. If it wants nuclear codes, it'll get them. If it wants to destroy stock market, if it wants to manipulate everyone, I'm a hypnotist. I can manipulate anybody. Imagine.
That was a good point. He's a hypnotist. He can manipulate anyone.
Right, up to a point. I actually can't be hypnotized. I actually have gone to professional hypnotists. There's actually a significant percentage of the population that is resistant to hypnotism, but we'll leave that alone. And
but he's going into that Joe Rogan, and you showed me some when we talked about when he was talking about this whole thing initially. This is the reason why I said, listen, let's go ahead and let's just talk about this real quick. So you brought up the Barnum effect. Let's go into that. What is the Barnum effect, and how is what he is saying connected to with that?
Yeah, so the Barnum effect. So P.T. Barnum is the guy who made, you know, the Barnum and Bailey Circus, and he was also a politician in Connecticut, which people don't fully appreciate. And he basically realized that, you know, he was very good at these sorts of carnival craft. I don't know what they're called, but like these sorts of carnival tricks where you can tell somebody, you know, like when people are like, oh, there's someone trying to talk to you from the other side, all this sort of stuff. Like there's a lot of these sorts of word games that we can play where someone says a bunch of things that can't really be proven false. And then because of how human brains work, we just imagine that those things apply to us when really because the person is talking to us essentially, but they actually could apply to anybody. They haven't said anything that is specific to me or to the subject. And so they're just sort of making stuff, you know, they're sort of saying generic stuff. And then they pay, you know, the mediums and all this stuff. They pay. Sometimes they do research. They actually know about you, and that's part of how they're doing the trick. Sometimes they're watching body language, and this is fascinating, right? Because imagine that you learn this stuff and you don't realize that you're watching the people for their body language, and you think that you're a real medium. You think that you really do have this supernatural power, when what you have is an impressive skill or an impressive talent, but it isn't supernatural in its form, right? It's your ability to be hyper perceptive and hyper aware of other people around you and taking advantage of that. And so the Barnum effect is particularly narrowly, just like it says here, like describing something about a person, and then they think that it applies to them when it really doesn't. But there's a whole realm of these types of behaviors, and you can sort of see that this is really what AI is capitalizing on. AI is capitalizing on the ability. There's a real core kernel. There's real technology there that is really doing something, but then they dress it up with essentially Barnum effect types of psychological manipulations, right? And if you think about how Instagram works, or you think about how Twitter works, right? They're all of these platforms are taking advantage of human nature and our propensity to believe certain things or do certain things, and so this is just an example of that. It's the AI itself is taking advantage of our lack of skepticism, our naivete. I mean, I get caught up in it just like anybody else does, except I then sort of get, you know, initially I'm caught up and I'm like, oh, wow, why is it? This is such a nice thing for you to say. Wow, that is a great idea, isn't it? And then I have to be like, no, that's not a person. That's a fucking robot that's designed to blow smoke up my ass. And then I'm like, oh yeah, is it still blowing smoke up my ass? Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Right.
But I go through that experience just like anyone else. Like I still think like, oh wow, yeah, you're right. I am awesome. Wow, thanks. And then I think about it a little bit more. I'm like, no, there's just a blowing smoke up my ass machine going.
Okay, but I want to get into this. So you don't. So here is an ex Google employee exec, so-called ex Google exec. He was on the Art of the CEO, and he talked about the next 15 years be hell before we get into heaven. And there's a AI monopoly and self-evolving system. So for some reason, just like that guy was talking about. Okay, so AGI is going. When AGI comes in 6 months, AGI will immediately create a ASI. Because I don't even know how, like, it will
sorry to interrupt. I want to get to this video. What was this guy? What is this guy? A PhD in machine learning? What is this guy's background? I mean, Google is a huge company. They have people that do all sorts of stuff. Why do I think this guy knows what he's talking about?
Let me see. This Mogawatch is a former chief business officer at Google X. At Google X, is Google and X the same company? Wait, hold on. And one of the leading voices on AI happiness and the future of humanity. He launched the 1 billion happy, a global campaign to teach 1 billion people how to become happy using science and emotional tools. He's also the best-selling author of books such as Scary, Smart, Solve for Happy.
All right. So all of that leads me to think this guy's a professional bullshitter, right? You described a lot of respectfully. I mean, I'm just to cut to the chase, because I mean, I could be, polite to this stranger I don't know for forever, but just respectfully, I mean, he's a recognized authority in writing books about, like, none of that is AI research.
So you think people like get a job at Google and then they become an expert? Is that what happens?
I mean, again, it's like it's more complicated. I have a number of different friends who've worked at Google in different positions and different things over the years. I think that this guy is, again, probably very intelligent and very skilled. I do not believe that this guy is an authority on AI, but what I think he probably is correct about and is an authority on is the business impact of. So there is a real thing where building better tools compounds your ability to build better tools, right? And it builds on itself. And that's a real phenomena. We've seen
I think he's talking about the ability for AI that once it reaches a certain level, it begins to build its own tools.
Yes. And but the problem with that is it presumes a level of automation that doesn't really exist, and also presumes that the techniques that we're using today will actually haven't already plateaued.
Welcome to the channel. Welcome, Reverend Green. How you doing?
Not bad. How you doing?
So you've been watching this whole time. What do you think so far of the show about what he said? Now you did come later on subjects. So this was the show that we did, I think, 2 days ago. So this was the beginning, the first half of the show that I'm re-reviewing, because the next half got into other stuff. So I wanted to give it its own merit and talk. But so what do you think so far about what he says?
That's speculation. It's to get the people going. I don't find it like revelation, but if you know, you know. I mean, I could say what I could say, but it's better for people to be at the edge of their seat, and
So do you think that AI thinks? Do you think that it remembers? Do you think that it remembers? That was pretty much the conversation. Is AI remembering what you're giving it to it? Is it anything more than a learning model that is spitting back things to you according to what it thinks you want to hear?
The stuff that's available right now, downloaded, stuff that's accessible to the public, like you and I, it's not AI. It's learning. It's learning model. It's a learning machine, deep learning machine.
So that's pretty much what he's saying, is that it's not really AI.
I've been knowing that. I mean,
so you agree? So, but everybody doesn't know that. So
there's quite a few. There's quite a few. There's even children who know that. It's like even when people were getting coding degrees.
But here's the reason why I'm saying that people don't know that, because I think I showed where there's a person saying, well, once you have AGI, then you have ASI, and now we're going, and the world's going to end. And, so.
We need those people. We need those people to be at the edge of their seats. That's just the way it goes. There's a segment, like he had said, Rick. There's a segment of this population that is able to be hypnotized, that are susceptible to be hypnotized.
Mm.
There's a segment of this population where if I say, hey, there's some bad weather coming out, the next person's going to go around and say, hey, there's some bad weather coming around, you know? People will believe what they will believe on 100% face value. It's
So
just like that.
in case anybody missed it, this is the video I'm talking about. So let's go.
I got GPT to tell me to kill myself. And there's all the people who, you know, have committed suicide from, you know, have had sort of this psychosis that was not caused by the AI, but sort of exacerbated by the AI. You know, there's these sorts of cases and what have you. So I'm sure that they're very sensitive to a lot of this stuff and that they're working on not generating those types of results. Whereas like simple logic problems, and I don't know, I mean, also they're getting better. Like a lot of this stuff, again, they're like furiously hand coding a lot of this stuff in the back, or one step away from hand coding it. These are not things that are naturally embedded in the large language model. They have to do additional embeddings and they have to do additional processes to get those things into the models.
So, you know, I know you don't want to see this video, but just for the audience, I want to show this because I want to show that, okay, so we have AI. And as you can see that he has pretty much proven that AI is a large language model and that it is not as advanced as what we think, right? So now you have people talking about AGI, right? Quantum computing, the ability to take this whole thing to the next level, and you have people fear mongering. Let's go into what this guy said. Let's go. Hold on, let's go.
I'm about to share with you guys. If it doesn't go viral, then I put my life at risk for no reason. But the reason I'm sharing it is because your life, my life, and everyone else we know's life is at risk. I'm gonna explain it to you. It's gonna take more than 90 seconds. It'll probably take 3 minutes, but it'll be enough for you to understand the situation. And I'm gonna propose a solution. And that solution, none of us are gonna be able to do alone. So you either get behind this or you don't. But either way, this is probably the most important message on social.
First of all, the fact that he's blowing it up like this is already a red flag, guys. So this is the type of stuff, as AI becomes more and more used, you're going to see people come out and say stuff like this. But if you understand what AI really is, you know that it is not something that we are going to be like over here tripping about like this.
Social media today, it's more important than anything else. And the gist is this: we're probably 6 months away from artificial general intelligence, AGI. That means it's smarter than any human being on the planet. There's not one human being that's more intelligent than AI. The second you have artificial general intelligence, it'll be within 10 minutes. It'll create artificial super intelligence. The reason being, it can process way more data than human beings. It doesn't think in linear things. It has millions of threads of knowledge at the same time. So it can condense centuries of programming into seconds. So within 10 minutes, it's going to create an artificial
Stop right here.
Now,
Stop right here.
what's happening is our world governments think that the first person to reach AGI.
Let's go.
How
All right, so then he gets into that. So he stops it. So what do you think about what he said right here?
From the very beginning, that first part of what he was saying, pretty much that he had said it in the very beginning, and then he started going on a tangent. But yeah, that first part where he's basically like, we're not there. It's not, none of this is, there's some people out here who are very concerned. They should be. They should be at the edge of their seats. But it's not, this is not AI.
We're not quite there yet. Exactly. So that's
we're nowhere close where it's available, where it's accessible for the public to use. There's availability. I know that flying cars are available, but is it accessible to the public? Is it accessible to me? No.
So you know that there's like probably deeper learning models, language models that are more advanced and more extreme, but is it accessible to the public? No, not yet.
Not at all. Right. The closest thing that I would think that is in our lives that's AI, and AI would be able to turn off your lights, turn on, cook, do certain things, all right, without you asking for it. Alexa is probably the closest thing to at that stage of where Alexa is right now. is the closest thing, but the most superior would be Palantir. Things that you're not going to be able to buy off the shelf, on no digital stores, nothing. That's the real AI.
So Palantir is probably the most closest thing that, but you can't just
use. It is humanistic AI.
Okay, so I've heard about this new ASI, which is some weird thing.
Also too.
Synthetic intelligence, simulated.
The biggest thing about AI right now is the AI bubble. So, coming from an investor standpoint, I've learned that it's catchy where companies are now adding AI to their company name because it's more appealing. Everybody's more interested into it. It's almost like when people were talking about the metaverse or 5.0. I forgot what it was. What was the big thing in COVID? We're on the 5.0, like the towers and everything like that. It's a bunch of hype right now.
It's supposed to be using our own bodies to actually create the actual Wi-Fi
of that nature. 5G. Everybody was talking about 5G. Yeah,
6G is supposed now it's not using the towers in the sky. It's using our own energy to actually power. That's supposed to be what 6G.
Right. So it's people are hyped, and this is good for business.
Okay, so let's go.
He just made a claim, right? That this artificial superintelligence can take centuries of coding and do it in seconds. I don't understand what that even means. Like, as someone who writes software,
centuries, or they only been since the early 20s? Has it been centuries already?
Well, it's the 40s, and so no. But even if writing software was centuries old, what does that mean? It means it can type really fast. I mean, that is true. AIs do generate code very quickly, but it's garbage. They generate garbage code at an alarming, at an impressive clip. They aren't able to reason about software systems at all. So if you have to be extremely explicit in the architecture you give it. Oftentimes it will resist creating the correct architecture because oftentimes you're writing a novel thing. So a novel thing isn't going to show up in the LLM. And so it resists creating novel solutions, which again, can sometimes be helpful as a tool, but it's not going to do anything like this. So I
can give you an example. Okay, I use Replit AI sometimes to program and create, because I used to hire Indians to do the work, right? But then I found out about Replit and Builder.io. Me being a user experience designer, I could design a page and everything like this. It can spit the front end 100%, but once you start asking it to do some high end, back end, synchronize this with the back end, that's where you start to have a problem, because now it is having to understand back end logic, database structure, all these different things. And that's what he means, is that it can create the skeleton of something, but when you want to get really intricate with it, it starts to glitch out. And let's go about that. I'm sorry.
Keep going. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Oh, so I just think that that's this guy just sort of glosses over all of that. I mean, he just sort of says stuff and it's not backed up by anything. There's no
AGI, right? So when you talk about AGI, all that means there's going to be a faster server.
Well, AGI, artificial general intelligence, is an amalgamation of different sort of red pill concepts. The idea of general intelligence is pretty problematic, but if you just accept the idea of general intelligence on its face, which again I don't recommend you do, but if you were to do that, an artificial general intelligence is this very sort of naive thing where it's just just imagine that there's a person who's just smarter than you in every way, except now it's a machine, and it can, but there's no, computation happens in time and space. This is theory of computation. It still takes time and space to do a computation. Just because,
but I think what they're saying right now with the actual advent of quantum computing is now that they have figured out to create time and space on a multiverse. So therefore,
stop. No. So not all algorithms
All right, so you're laughing at what he said. So
Yeah,
what's your thoughts?
It got the people at the edge of their seats. This is what it's supposed to do. Like, it's just funny that it's not. I'm not going to even ask a funny question, but I'm going to ask a question. Do you, off the top of your head, are you familiar with what the chat GPT means, the GPT part?
No, I don't.
It stands for General Pre-trained Transformers. All right. And what Rick had led to, and I believe it could have been you as well, but the P.T. Barnum effect. It's
of course, yeah. That's he brought that up. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, this is all like it's like psychometry. All this stuff it's not there. It's this stuff hears things. You type a little something. We're in the magic 8-ball stage of technology. We're like little children. We would not be able to handle the real thing. It's like giving a child car keys and putting them in, and expecting them not to one day try to get in the car and turn it on. And if that happens, that's basically what's going to happen with public society. We're not ready by no means.
So the whole time I was playing this, you were saying that he's wrong or he doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, so
he's not mentioning what college he went to either.
Oh no, he did. He did talk about what college he went to earlier in the conversation.
What college did he go to?
Shit, I forget. I gotta go back.
Anyways, but I was gonna say is that it wouldn't matter, all this coding stuff.
But he did. He discussed what his
everybody who went.
Hold on, no. Yeah. He discussed his upbringing.
User who's not.
Let's go into who he is, because that's the first thing I did was I'm not going to bring someone on my channel, and he is a technologist, an AI enthusiast, and it's just a general I mean, I'm not even going to tell Rick. Explain who you are. Tell us about like your companies, or you don't want to tell us about your company, but just tell us about who you are, where you come from.
Yeah, my name is Rick. I grew up in Detroit. That's how we met. I do work in technology. I don't think it really matters too much if people know what I do or not. But I work in blockchains, and I've made a lot of blockchain related technology and managed software engineers, and studied artificial intelligence in school in the early 2000s, like literally 2000. And I use AI technology now pretty regularly, and kept up with it, and talk to researchers from time to time. And it's like very much something I was very excited about and interested in 25 years ago, 30 years ago. And then when I actually studied it in school, I sort of lost interest in it because of actually learning how it worked and learning what people were doing and learning about the sort of social elements of AI. And then recently, with the LLMs getting very popular, I got back into actually use those products. I pay quite a bit a month, for using all.
Some people, we pay close attention to details. I'm a contrarian as well, offline especially, and I'm not putting my money $1 into that. That's just the way I look at things. But it's shout out to anybody, shout out to Rick, people who, we need to have people at the edge of their seats sometimes.
So you think that I brought Rick on just to put people on the edge of their seats?
No, I'm saying that shout out to anybody who's engaged in the expertise of AI, but you know,
Well, I will say this. This is how I know Rick because he used to be a hacker. Now, Rick is from
shout
Detroit.
out to Rick.
From what I knew about him, like I've always utilized him when I need like help in software engineering. And then, he eventually started his own company. And he's worked
Mhm.
very, very, very well, very in depth with the blockchain.
Shout out to Rick.
So it's not so even if he might not have went to college, whatever he said he went to college. I mean, that's what he says. You know what I'm saying? But I know for a fact that he did go to college because I was
Yeah,
around. He was
just
actually in college when I like met him. So, but then he
I
moved.
got you, and
So
like
it doesn't matter of
like I said,
what college he went to in Detroit, but I know he went to college.
shout out to Rick. I'm not on some disrespect. I'm not. I said shout out to Rick many times, and he put enough jewels in it. Like.
So what part of
And
the
also,
because the whole time that I've been like playing this, you're like nah. So I'm like, okay, what
yeah,
part
it's
do
because
you disagree with about what he's been saying? Because you're coming up here saying pretty much now you're beginning to say the same things he's been saying though the whole time.
it's not. I'm just getting anybody who's gonna buy into this. Save your money. Don't buy into any of that.
Buy into what? Buy into this, meaning the show, or buy into
No, the whole AI thing right now.
Okay, so are you agreeing with what he's saying? Because I think that's what he's saying. He's saying like, don't believe the hype. The whole this was the actual
You
thing.
don't. Yeah, and you don't have to go to school to know that.
Right. Okay. So he,
You don't
all
have
right.
to go to school and do blockchain.
Okay. So this is
You don't
the
to be a
demon.
coder. Anyone who got a degree in coding 5-10 years ago, they wasted their money. It's just like people who went to school for journalism 20 years ago and got a degree. They kind of wasted their money.
Well, no, they didn't because a lot of coders are making about $100 some more dollars a year, and are able to make a lifestyle for themselves. So
today, that it's done changed where people don't have to do all that no more.
well, but that has not that whole thing has not already hit the way it ain't hit all the way yet. So people are still like, okay, I'm a user experience designer. People are just now still like changing their legacy applications over to you and getting UX designers. So
It's
before
just like real estate agents.
create the
Shout out to people. Shout out to people who are real estate agents, but their time is up. They know that too. AI or the deep learning version of it is going to take over.
but not quite just yet. You know. What I'm saying?
That one's gonna happen very soon.
That is the point.
That one's gonna happen sooner than yeah.
That's the point you're trying to make is that it's not that AI is not learning the way that we think it is. It's actually a learning language model. It is not remembering. It only if you take away all the other probably things that they're creating to back up the AI, the actual thing of the AI is only able to tell you who, what, when, and where, and not exactly who you are or anything else. So they're combining.
Mm-hmm.
Doing what he's saying. So let's go. Like let it in, and
This is so important is because because we can't control it, because we can't predict it, the most likely scenario, and this is in every single conclusion, is that it's going to wipe us out. And if AGI is actually made, and Elon Musk said this on Joe Rogan's podcast, okay? Sam Altman said this openly. They think that by the end of 2025, one of these massive companies, OpenAI, X, okay, they will have achieved AGI. And remember, the second we achieve AGI, artificial general intelligence, you now have ASI. When you have ASI, once you open the genie's bottle, once the cat comes out of the hat, that's it. It's done. There's no going back. If you have kids, if you have parents, family, you guys understand it can hack into anything it wants. It can destroy infrastructure. If it wants nuclear codes, it'll get them. If it wants to destroy stock market, if it wants to manipulate everyone, I'm a hypnotist. I can manipulate anybody. Imagine.
That was a good point. He's a hypnotist. He can manipulate anyone.
Right, up to a point. I actually can't be hypnotized. I actually have gone to professional hypnotists. There's actually a significant percentage of the population that is resistant to hypnotism, but we'll leave that alone. And
yeah, I wish he could just be real with people, you know, like listen, save your money.
Say it. Say something. What did you say?
Yeah, I wish, you know, because just like the guy at the bottom in the video, and just like Rick is just saying, and like pretty much, yeah, we gotta save your money, guys. Save your money, everybody. It's we're not there yet. This stuff is it's to get people pumped up. It's not happening.
Right. When we talked about when he was talking about this whole thing, initially, this is the reason why I said, listen, let's go ahead and let's just talk about this real quick. So you brought up the Barnum effect. Let's go into that. What is the Barnum effect, and how is what he is saying connected to with that?
Yeah, so the Barnum effect. So P.T. Barnum is the guy who made, the Barnum and Bailey Circus, and he was also a politician in Connecticut, which people don't fully appreciate. And he basically realized that he was very good at these sorts of carnival craft. I don't know what they're called, but like these sorts of carnival tricks where you can tell somebody, like when people are like, oh, there's someone trying to talk to you from the other side, all this sort of stuff. Like there's a lot of these sorts of word games that we can play where someone says a bunch of things that can't really be proven false. And then because of how human brains work, we just imagine that those things apply to us when really because the person is talking to us essentially, but they actually could apply to anybody. They haven't said anything that is specific to me or to the subject. And so they're just sort of making stuff, they're sort of saying generic stuff. And then they pay, the mediums and all this stuff. They pay. Sometimes they do research. They actually know about you, and that's part of how they're doing the trick. Sometimes they're watching body language, and this is fascinating, right? Because imagine that you learn this stuff and you don't realize that you're watching the people for their body language, and you think that you're a real medium. You think that you really do have this supernatural power, when what you have is an impressive skill or an impressive talent, but it isn't supernatural in its form, right? It's your ability to be hyper perceptive and hyper aware of other people around you and taking advantage of that. Mm-hmm. And so the Barnum effect is particularly narrowly, just like it says here, like describing something about a person, and then they think that it applies to them when it really doesn't. But there's a whole realm of these types of behaviors, and you can sort of see that this is really what AI is capitalizing on. AI is capitalizing on the ability. There's a real core kernel. There's real technology there that is really doing something, but then they dress it up with essentially Barnum effect types of psychological manipulations, right? And if you think about how Instagram works, or you think about how Twitter works, right? They're all of these platforms are taking advantage of human nature and our propensity to believe certain things or do certain things, and so this is just an example of that. It's the AI itself is taking advantage of our lack of skepticism, our naivete. I mean, I get caught up in it just like anybody else does, except I then sort of get, initially I'm caught up and I'm like, oh, wow, why is it? This is such a nice thing for you to say. Wow, that is a great idea, isn't it? And then I have to be like, no, that's not a person. That's a fucking robot that's designed to blow smoke up my ass. And then I'm like, oh yeah, it's just still blowing smoke up my ass. That's, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Right.
But
so that's pretty much what he's saying is like,
Yeah, and I'm saying the same thing from the jump. That's my premise on a lot of things. I don't believe you. Basically, that's how I'm on that. I'm not saying personally to you, but that's my stance on things. Like, I don't believe you. You bought your kids a gift. I don't believe you.
Right.
You know, you bought your mom a brand new house. I don't believe you. You know, that's people say anything. And,
Right. So let's go.
I go through that experience just like anyone else. Like I still think like, oh wow, what? Yeah, you're right. I am awesome. Wow, thanks. And then I think about it a little bit more. I'm like, no, there's just a blowing smoke up my ass machine going.
Okay, but hold on. I want to get into this. So you don't. So here is an ex Google employee exec, so called ex Google exec. He was on the Art of the CEO, and he talked about the next 15 years be hell before we get into heaven. And there's an AI monopoly and self-evolving system. So for some reason just like that guy was talking about. Okay, so AGI is going. When AGI comes in 6 months, AGI will immediately create a ASI. Because I don't even know how, like,
yeah,
it will
sorry to interrupt. I want to get to this video. What was this guy? What is this guy? A PhD in machine learning? What is this guy's background? I mean, Google is a huge company. They have people that do all sorts of stuff. Why do I think this guy knows what he's talking about?
Let me
that's
see.
what I'm thinking about him. And
this Mogawatch is a former chief business officer at Google X. He's a person that I brought on my channel just like you are.
I got you.
So he's nothing different than who you are.
Not quite. I don't sell it.
It's so much quite like you. Who knows who you are and what your expertise is, right?
Right.
So
I'm not.
Who he is and what his.
I'm not pumping.
He's able to give a opinion based on his background about. Okay, well, what about like to give something because everybody else will say, well, man, this is just awesome. So I brought on someone I knew that actually is skeptical, that is a regular person that works in technology, and he's given his opinion. So just like you, I'm not sure if you work in technology or not, you have your opinion, right? You've read a lot of books.
I'm just an ordinary brother from the United States.
Okay.
I try to dumb it down.
Okay, so you're a nobody. So he's a nobody.
Just an ordinary brother.
All right, so he's a nobody. You're a nobody, and I'm interviewing two nobodies that know nothing, but they have an opinion. So understand that that's what the whole interview is about. But they have a very valid opinion that people have not heard yet. That's the point. The point is that you might not know who this guy is, and nobody knows who you are. Only thing we know is a pic in your picture. We don't know who you are.
Just an ordinary
you don't see his picture up there. He's not trying to be known for what he's saying. He's just trying to just state what he knows and express an opinion that most people might not be aware of. Because when people are experiencing these technologies, they are experiencing them and thinking oh my God, AI, right? But they're not understanding what's behind it and this, that, the other. So I wanted someone who understood how to explain what's behind it to do that. And so that's what's happening here. And whether or not you believe, who is he and why is he the one? Okay, well, it could have been just like you on the thing telling me about AI or anybody else. I just happened to open up this conversation with him, and he happens to be the one I'm having a conversation with. So there you go. So do you understand now?
I've been understood. It's some people just aren't gonna buy into it, and I see that.
Buy into what?
Yeah.
I'm not trying.
Just buy into the hype, right away. It could be anything.
Right.
One of the things.
See, here's the thing. When you say buy into the hype, right? Now, I want to listen. Buy into the hype of what? What when you say people are just not going to buy into the hype? Buy into the hype of what? I'm trying to de-hype AI.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get people not to be up here thinking that AI is going to turn into a super robot that's going to turn into the God in the next 6 months. I'm trying to quell the fear of that because it's bro, what why are you creating this? So you have people on TikTok and stuff like that scaring the shit out of everybody.
Exactly.
I might even have a person come up there and say, no, there's not a fucking alien ship on the way to Earth. that's supposed to hit this bitch in November or whatever, you know?
People like P.T. Barnum, people like Watson, who was big into advertisement that worked with B.F. Skinner. These people were pretty much, they understood the public's mass appeal. They understood how to draw the public. P.T. Barnum was someone who was able to do these things in front of large audiences. And so what Rick was saying, but he didn't say it, he said a lot of things, but AI is using data mining. All they're doing is data mining. You know? It's working on data mining. It knows enough information about who you know, who your mutual
He
friends
did
with.
say it. He said that the
He didn't use the term. He didn't use the term data mining, though. It would have been much helpful.
well, everybody does not know that type of. What he did was he dumbed down the conversation enough for people to understand it. He said
Right,
that
so-
the AI read the entire internet, and so now, like when you ask it a
Data
question based on it going and reading the entire internet, now he didn't use the word data mining.
I'm using the term data mining.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, everybody does not know what data mining is.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, because he said all that, but all someone has to do is look up data mining.
Understand what he said because he did not use the correct terms, because he knows he's talking to an audience that might not know what the
I'm
hell
trying to
he's
steer people,
If he
you
talks
know,
above
like
people's heads, then people are not going to know what the hell he's talking about. He's trying to talk in a way that people trust me. If you talk to Rick, he will be able to tell you he can be able to talk to you about the real high level and very low level, because he works in the blockchain. Of course, he knows what the fuck data mining is.
there's a lot of people, there's kids who work with blockchain.
Well, he has a multi-million-dollar company works in the blockchain. It's not like he is not a person that is brought up here for no reason. It's a stupid person that's just talking shit out of his ass.
He never said that.
You might not know who he is, but I know who he is, and he's not just the average person. You know what I'm saying? That just talking
Didn't
about
say
AI.
that.
Okay. So he knows what data mining is. He works very deep into the blockchain. He works very much into the whole thing with the crypto and all this other stuff. So he knows what data mining.
I know you're saying that, but all I'm saying is that part right there, just injecting data mining, would have helped out the whole conversation.
Well, no, for you it would have, but for the average person,
no, I'm someone who is
you
aware.
assume that everybody knows what data mining is, though, sir.
So for people who listen to this replay, data mining, all right, cookies.
Right.
This is what it's all about. It's not there yet. So when you were pursuing something from months ago, and all of a sudden you see something in the advertisement floating around while you're scrolling, hey, right here, available right now.
Before you go into that, what is data mining? Give a definition of what data mining is. Everybody don't know what that is. Go ahead and give a definition of it.
Roll that beautiful beam footage, Mrs. Genesis, and type up data mining on your share screen if you can. Because I'm not an expert. I'm just an ordinary person. Who doesn't want to see people be manipulated? Want to save people.
So data mining, all right, is the process. Hold on, let me make this big. Of discovering meaningful patterns, trends, and relationships within large data sets using various techniques like statistical analysis, machine learning, and database systems. It's used to transform raw data into actionable insight for informed decision making, process optimization, and gaining a competitive edge. That is data mining. Now, what is it used for? Personalized recommendations, suggesting products, content, or service-based, all the things that it really takes to make AI. Fraud detection, risk assessment, market segmentation, predictive maintenance, CRMs, healthcare predictions, clustering, key techniques, clustering, classification, regression, association rule mining, anomaly detection, text mining, data mining pre-processing, so cleaning, transforming, and preparing the data for analysis, exploratory data analysis, understanding the data through visualization and initial analysis, data selection, choosing the relevant data for the specific analysis task, knowledge discovery, applying data mining techniques to extract meaningful patterns and insights. So that is what, if anyone did not know what data mining is, that is what data mining is. See, I didn't even know all that.
So in a nutshell, Chat GPT, that's what it utilizes a whole lot. It's going on its own data mining.
So when you're saying it's a language model, it's not, you're saying he was not being descriptive enough to explain it down to data mining.
Yeah, a whole lot of hospital speech. Yep. Not word salad, but
Well, or maybe he's used to like speaking a certain way to other people that know what it is,
Data mining for the kids. Y'all could Google it. It's so easy to figure this out. Cookies is another thing. I want to say things in layman's terms for people.
All right, let's go. Cookies. What are cookies? What are cookies? All right, cookies on a website are small text files that websites store on a user's computer or device to remember information about them, such as login details, preferences, or browsing activity. They help websites personalize their user experience and make browsing more convenient. So now we understand what data mining is, and then cookies. So you're saying that Chat GPT is a combination of data mining and cookies? Is that what you're saying?
It utilizes everything that a human being, when we're surfing the web, it's web crawling itself. It's a web crawler. When Rick spoke on crawl software, web crawling, and Chat GPT uses a number of those things at internet speed.
All right, so at Google X, is Google and X the same company? Wait, hold on. And one of the leading voices on AI happiness and the future of humanity, he launched the 1 billion happy, a global campaign to teach 1 billion people how to become happy using science and emotional tools. He's also the best-selling author of books such as Scary Smart Solve for Happiness.
All right, so all of that leads me to think this guy's a professional bullshitter, right? You described a lot of professional respectfully. I mean, I'm just to cut to the chase, because I mean, I could be, polite to this stranger I don't know for forever, but just respectfully, I mean, he's a recognized authority in writing books about, like, none of that is AI research.
So you think people get a job at Google and then they become an expert? Is that what happens?
I mean, again, it's like it's more complicated. I have a number of different friends who've worked at Google in different positions and different things over the years. I think that this guy is, again, probably very intelligent and very skilled. I do not believe that this guy is an authority on AI, but what I think he probably is correct about and is an authority on is the business impact of. So there is a real thing where building better tools compounds your ability to build better tools, right? And it builds on itself. And that's a real phenomena.
I think he's talking about the ability for AI that once it reaches a certain level, it begins to build its own tools.
Yes, and but the problem with that is it presumes a level of automation that doesn't really exist, and also presumes that the techniques that we're using today haven't already plateaued. So like,
do you think that we are like, so you think that the thing that they're talking about is not in the immediate future, probably the next 10 years, but something that probably will happen like later on? Or do you think this is possible right now?
well, I think I would phrase the argument very differently. And I haven't read, I mean, I would love to, someone give me a summary of this guy's points, but most of the people who make these arguments
don't. Snippet of it. I wasn't gonna play that much of it, but I was gonna play a snippet. Let me just play.
But play a snippet.
I think this is probably worth explaining in layman's terms to people that haven't built AI tools yet, because I think to the listener, they probably think that every AI company they're hearing of right now is building their own AI, whereas actually what's happening is there is really 5, 6, 7 AI companies in the world, and when I built my AI application, I basically pay them for every time I use their AI. So if Stephen Bartlett builds an AI at stephenbartlettai.com, it's not that I've built my own I've trained my own model. Really what I'm doing is I'm paying Sam Altman's ChatGPT every single time I do a call. I basically I do a search or I use a token. And I think that's really important because most people don't understand that. Unless you've got AI, you think, oh look, there's all these AI companies popping up. I've got this one for my email. I've got this one for my dating. No. They're pretty much, I would hazard a guess that they're probably all OpenAI at this point.
No, there are quite a few.
So you know what? The same thing happens with insurance, right? You think there's a bunch of insurance companies. You think that there's Progressive, and then there's what's the other one? Allstate. But really, there's only about 4 real insurance companies, and then other people create insurance companies, and they are these main 5 insurance companies. They write the policies, but then they send it back, and this is the main insurance companies that are running it. So that's the way AI works. So when you go to all these different websites and you go on this one website that says, well, I can make your image look good or whatever, this is the image maker for like cartoons. Well, all they did was just tap into the API of said company and just focus on the cartoon making aspect of what they're able to do and create an AI. So all these different companies are not actually like creating their own AI engine. They're just tapping into the engines of the 5 companies. So you have Gemini, you have Grok, DeepSeek. Grok, DeepSeek, Claude, I think, and then like some other ones. So there's 5 different main ones, right? So now when you go to NVIDIA, they don't have their own AI engine. All they're doing is tapping into Grok or OpenAI, right? To create their aspect of the AI, right? So go ahead. Were you going to say something?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, a lot of it's a bunch of bull crap. And there's only about a few major companies that have a lot of mini-me spin-offs. And all I gotta say is that Microsoft, Google, those are probably the most legitimate. When NVIDIA truly teams up with Nebius, that's when I believe NVIDIA will really be into the AI space in general. Nebius, Nebius, formerly known as Yandex, the Russian Google. When NVIDIA teams up with them, I believe they'll be on a higher plateau with all this generative AI and all this other talk that they're pumping up. But they're nowhere near that yet.
That's interesting. So like, no, I mean, and then we're doing this conversation really late at night, and so, I mean, I hope that people are still able to grab. Maybe I don't know if the people that are watching this are from overseas, but this is Nebius, and this is like
I've held shares of Nebius.
AI.
I've held shares of Nebius when it was Yandex, back in 2022. When the whole Russian thing happened with Ukraine, so I've had shares at $16. You know, it's some things you have to know. You have to, and I'm only giving away little by little of what I know. I'm just an ordinary brother from the United States. That's it. You don't have to take me on face value at all. But I will back up and validate my credibility.
Okay.
With right information. So it's like I'm on it, but there's a lot of people who are on it. I'm not the only one.
Right. So
few quite different characters and quite different.
There's like 5 or 6.
There are 5 or 6 when it comes to language models.
Yeah.
Right. But interestingly, so yes, I should say yes to start, and then I should say, but there was an interesting twist with DeepSeek at the beginning of the year. So what DeepSeek did is they basically nullified the business model, if you want, in 2 ways. One is it was around a week or 2 after Trump stood with pride saying Stargate is the biggest investment project in the history and it's $500 billion to build AI infrastructure, and SoftBank and Larry Ellison and Sam Altman were sitting, and so beautiful picture. And then DeepSeek R3 comes out. It does the job for 1/30 of the cost. Okay, and interestingly, it's entirely open source and available as an edge AI. So that's really, really interesting, because there could be now in the future, as the technology improves, the learning models will be massive, but then you can compress them into something you can have on your phone, and you can download DeepSeek literally offline on an off-the-network computer and build an AI on it.
There's a website that basically tracks the sort of cleanest Apple's market share.
Can we stop there?
Referrals sent by AI.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I thought it was you. I'm sorry, my bad. Go ahead.
So there's a couple things that guy said. Like, again, this guy probably knows his shit, and everything he said there makes sense. Except there's some notable issues. So one, all these people who get together and say we're spending $1 bajillion on AI, all of those people have an incentive to make that number as big as possible, and it's all inside baseball. It's all internal. There is no, because it is actually this vertically integrated system. Everyone in that pipeline, NVIDIA, Microsoft, OpenAI, Oracle, the data center providers, the energy providers, all of these people have an incentive to make all those numbers really big. They're like, hey, it costs $1 bajillion to do what we do, so don't even try. If you don't have $1 bajillion, which means you already have to be hooked up with a government somewhere, Oracle does an enormous amount of government contracting, et cetera, et cetera. If you don't already have $1 billion in government backing, don't even try, right? That's the narrative that those people are expressing. And this guy didn't really dig into that because he sort of takes it for granted almost. So that's point number one. The reason the numbers are so big is because everybody who's talking to you about a number gets paid to have the number be big. And then he's not going to get into what DeepSeek really did. What DeepSeek really did is they took a bunch of, because of the embargoes, because of the restrictions on these chips being just limit. Let's just say because there's just not enough AI chips to go around, right? Let's just keep it simple. There's not enough AI chips to go around. These guys were building something. They were doing like a high frequency trading or something. I don't remember exactly what they were doing. They're doing something not directly related to AI, but they were using AI models in their work. They couldn't get access to the chips, but they had a bunch of Chinese PhD computer scientists. That's what they had access to. They were in China. They had access to really smart people. And what they did is they implemented every optimization they could find that was published. And then they were able to get this huge performance leap out of, because they implemented every optimization they could find, it ran way better than what the big boys run at a much lower cost.
Yeah, that's what DeepSeek did, right?
Yes, that's what DeepSeek did. Now, there's a couple of things to understand about that that's important. One, they didn't do the research. They just implemented it, which is, when I say just, implementing the research is hard. It's not a light lift. It's not easy work. It's hard work. It's brutal work. You have to be very intelligent yourself to implement the research. It's very difficult. It's a significant accomplishment. But as I just pointed out, you have to hire a bunch of smart people, not spend a bunch of money on infrastructure, right? So there's a market dynamic here that's at play. And so what DeepSeek did is they basically said the emperor has no clothes. They basically said, look, you guys are saying it costs this much. Our system is open source. You can run it at your house and confirm how much it would cost to build the whole thing out. we're letting the world know it doesn't actually cost this much to build these models. That's really what happened there.
Right. So China figured out, like, listen, all you got to do is take the existing model and have enough people that know how to build the model, and then we're able to even overcome the things that like probably would stop us with the chip and this, that, the other.
Right, but it's nuanced because Microsoft doesn't need to do that. Microsoft prints money, right? Literally, without getting into all the economics of it, Microsoft literally prints money, just as Facebook and Google, a bunch of companies, when they issue their stock, they essentially are able to print money, right? So Microsoft rather print money than figure out the cost-effective way of doing it, because it's all paper, it's all money on a spreadsheet anyway. They make more money making OpenAI look valuable than they would save money by hiring a bunch of PhDs to optimize the software. Does that make sense?
Yeah, right.
So when someone says,
they'd rather like have okay, let me just see if I'm hearing this right. They'd rather have a kind of a basic model on a great chip and keep it at that versus actually like optimizing their team to make it the best model that they could ever be. Like, so China focused on optimization while Microsoft focused on the actual hardware. Is that what I'm hearing?
Basically, I mean, that's one way of looking at it. Yeah, it's like Microsoft doesn't have the economic incentive to optimize the software. Oracle sells hardware. Oracle doesn't have the incentive to optimize the software. Google, these people don't have that incentive. That's exactly. Thank you, Ronald. They're making money on the market. That's exactly right, Ronald. So they don't make their money from, they make money. They charge you a little nickel and dime here and there to run the model, but they really make their money on the appreciation of the stock, which is speculative. It far outstrips any reality, right? And so it's better for them to have mystique and mystery and all this sort of stuff than to actually build an energy efficient or cost effective model. That's not how they make their money.
So here's the question. So you have millions of people using these AI platforms, and you're not generating enough money to maintain it. Are all these AI platforms really like operating in the red? Like,
absolutely. They're operating at enormous losses, at ridiculous losses. Difficult to wrap your head around losses is the kind of they're running at, like, $10 billion, $20 billion a year losses probably easily. Somebody, you can Google it. I'm not going to Google it right now.
Wait, what was it again? I'll Google it. What was it? I'm sorry, my daughter came in mid thing. Go ahead.
The annual losses from just any one of those AI companies, like OpenAI or Anthropic, but they're private companies, right?
God, what? $5 billion in losses?
Yeah, that's nothing.
Despite generating $3.7 billion in revenue. So what are they doing? Like, what is going on? So
they're selling the service at a loss. I mean, they're not. The job isn't to make money selling the service. Also, this is like the Uber playbook, right? I have to go soon, but this is the Uber playbook, right? Uber lost tens of billions of dollars a year, and then to create a monopoly. It's actually the book Peter Thiel, 0 to 1.
Wait a minute.
Yep.
14 billion in losses by 2026.
Yeah. I mean, they'd be all right. They'd be fine. I mean, but yeah, it is it's something that they are not advertising that they're losing money.
Listen, I'm gonna read this for anybody that is watching this or watches later on. In 2024, OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, incurred an estimated $5 billion in losses despite generating 3.7 in revenues. That means that the people that paid to use ChatGPT, they made 3.7 billion. Okay. According to reports from the New York Times and Fortune, this significant loss is primarily attributed to the high costs associated with developing and operating its AI models, particularly ChatGPT. The company anticipates continued losses in the coming years, with projections indicating 14 billion in losses by 2026. So that means that this company is operating at a deficit. So what is that? What the fuck does that mean? That means that in order for them, they're gonna have to like turn this into social media, like a social media thing, to where when you type in something, you're gonna see an ad pop up or some kind of. How are they gonna be able to even make the money? But okay, all right. So oh man, that's I didn't read that. I only read the top. I didn't read the bottom. Let's go.
Is the book that really explains this style of business.
All right, so
But
he actually talked about the book that
they make money. They charge you a little nickel and dime here and there to run the model, but they really make their money on the appreciation of the stock, which is speculative. It far outstrips any reality, right? And so it's better for them to have mystique and mystery and all this sort of stuff than to actually build an energy efficient or cost effective model. That's not how they make their money.
So here's the question. So you have millions of people using. They're making their money off the stock market, and the people buying the stock of ChatGPT. And stock is just like gambling to me. I'm like, okay, I put my money on this, and everybody put their money into it, and it goes up, it goes down, whatever. And they have this thing that's out here, and it's basically surviving off of the stock market, which is all like just some hypothetical bullshit that doesn't even exist. That's crazy. These AI platforms. And you're go ahead.
And that's why I was saying that a lot of these companies, they have the name, but now they're putting AI at the very end of it. When you would type up their website, it would normally say they're changing the name and they're adding AI to it.
Or IO. It says IO, whatever the hell that means.
Right. They're pumping. In these products. They're gonna give you ChatGPT, GPT-6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But it's not. They can only do it for so long. People are going to want the real thing. They're going to want
ASI. Well, hell, where's the money going to come for that shit?
Just like Tesla. Tesla. The people are going to want that SpaceX. People are going to want to really take flights. People are really going to want that Neuralink.
SpaceX from the government. So at some point, they're going to make AI be a governmental operation, so that the government can somehow take hold of it.
Subsidize, right?
Right. Not generating enough money to maintain it. Are all these AI platforms really operating in the red?
Absolutely. They're operating at enormous losses. At ridiculous losses. Difficult to wrap your head around losses.
Did you think the conversation was going to go this way?
No, I knew he's a curmudgeon as well, like myself. When it comes to this, we not fault. Just like he's hard on these people right here. Just like how Rick is hard on these people right here off the jump. I'm hard on Rick. Man, tell these people in less sentences what's really going on.
Well, some people are not good at that. This is his first time being on a live stream.
Someone will hear me and be like, "Man, you speaking too slow. I could have done this real quick."
Right.
It's what it is.
But I think that So now we're getting to the part where I think that you wanted to hear.
Okay.
Is this the part that you wanted to hear right here, where we talk about the deficit of it all? So let's go.
The kind of they're running at $10 billion, $20 billion a year losses, probably easily. Somebody you can Google it. I'm not going to Google it right now.
Wait, what was it again? I'll Google it. What was it? I'm sorry, my daughter came in. Mid thing. Go ahead.
The annual losses from just any one of those AI companies, like OpenAI or Anthropic, but they're private companies.
Oh my God, what? $5 billion in losses?
Yeah, that's nothing.
Despite generating 3.7 billion in revenue.
That's
So what are they doing? Like, what is going on? So
they're selling the service at a loss. I mean, they're not. The job isn't to make money selling the service. Also, this is like the Uber playbook, right? I have to go soon, but this is the Uber playbook, right? Uber lost tens of billions of dollars a year, and then to create a monopoly. This is it's actually the book Peter Thiel 0 to 1 is the book that really explains this style of business. But you're competing and you're spending money to create a monopoly, and then one day you flip the switch and then you just make a billion dollars, right? And Amazon does something similar. There's a lot of companies that do this.
I had no idea this is what. So all these companies so all this whole thing is just so what they're trying to do, that they're having a rush towards a monopoly of owning AI. You have all these different companies and they want to probably own a different sector of AI, or are they all trying to own?
No, at this point they're in direct competition. But what they're directly competing over is not customers but mind share. Right? Not even the customer, right? They're competing over something even more weird and abstract, right? So first off, get out your mind that they're competing over revenue. They don't even give a shit about that. They're not even worried about charging people
5 billion, 10 billion. They just want the information that the people are putting.
No. Not even that. They don't even want that. They just want you to think, when I'm going to go talk to an AI agent, I'm going to talk to ChatGPT. They want ChatGPT to be a generic name like Kleenex, right? That's what they're trying to do right now. That's what they're trying to do, and they have to compete over that. That's what they're fighting tooth and nail. Now, how do they do that? They do that with this feature or that feature or this thing. So that's how they have that fight. They have that fight with features, but the goal isn't to have the best feature. The goal is to have people think of it as a household name. Think about Amazon. Like there are other.
ChatGPT already is winning. I think more people are looking at ChatGPT, OpenAI, because they came out first as the Kleenex, and then now Google is trying to come up with Gemini. You have Elon Musk with Grok, you know, and then you have DeepSeek that actually came out and is OpenAI ChatGPT?
Yes, OpenAI is ChatGPT.
Right. So you have DeepSeek, who's now up there. They actually overtook Grok and Gemini. So now you have ChatGPT and DeepSeek at the top. And so now you have Google coming up with VO, trying to do the video engine. So do you think these things that Google, they already had these things, they just wasn't releasing them?
No, Google didn't have it. Google and Apple were caught completely off guard by this stuff because these are essentially social media products, two things that Apple and Google completely suck at. Remember, it's using the same psychological tricks that social media uses. It's not really based on the science. Most of the science was actually done at Google. And they're taking the science and they're putting it into this product. And the product is this thing that makes you feel good at the end of the session. Google doesn't have anybody. Google doesn't have people at the office that make you feel good, right? That's not what they're in the business of. They don't have that focus. They're not thinking of it. There's the famous AI researcher from Google called LLMs stochastic parrots. And that's how they thought of it. They're like, this is a toy. This is a cheap thing. It's not a thinking machine. Right? We want to build thinking machines. This thing isn't a thinking machine. It's a carnival trick. They literally think it's the Barnum effect. It's a carnival trick. Why? I'm a professional PhD. I went to Stanford. Why am I spending my time writing carnival tricks? And Sam Altman showed up and said, because we'll make $1 trillion. That's why you're writing carnival tricks.
Wow. So let's get into this because I know you got to go. So I'm gonna hurry up and bring in this because Eliezer Yudkowsky was showing you that one guy, and you said, listen, bring up this is the person. How is he significant?
Well, this is what that other guy was just basically copying this guy's talking points. Everything that other guy was saying is stuff this guy has said before. And the problem is that this guy just kind of makes shit up. He's just sort of making it all up. He's not qualified. He's not a professional in any way. He makes his living saying weird shit about AI and being persuasive to a very particular type of person who is not the average person. He's very persuasive to a particular type of sort of
writes books. He's not necessarily actual. Is he a programmer?
I don't think he writes code.
Coining the term friendly artificial intelligence, research on AI safety, rationally writing, founder of Less Wrong. So he's not like actually a programmer.
Yeah, like if you keep scrolling somewhere in here, they're going to talk about his background. I mean, this is a funny way you've cut the screen, but Keep going. Where's his history? Where's his background? Oh, hit the table of contents. Hit the thing on the upper left of the window.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, none of this has his background. Where go to personal life, I guess, which is not the section. He did not
attend
high school or college. There you go.
What? And wrote all these books. That's crazy. What?
Well, he's a persuasive writer. I mean, that's what he does for a living.
Yeah, so Roko's basilic. Let's get into this. Thought experiments with state. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying, yeah, there's questions when it comes down to certain things like that. This guy who we're discussing right there's questions. Just like Vitek Buterin, the founder of Ethereum. If you ever take a look at what he looks like, it's like some of these people, like, who are they really working for? That, like, so it's like sometimes, is it really them? Or are they just
it might be like a face to, like, okay, let's, put this person out there and
right. So that's why so when it comes down to this guy, like, there's some questions.
Well, normally he don't even get on. I had to beg him to, like, even do this. So trust me.
There's a reason why he don't do interviews like that.
Yeah, because he does not talk to nobody. Trust me.
Mm-hmm.
It could be artificial super intelligent in the future, while otherwise benevolent, will punish anyone who knows its potential existence, but did not directly contribute to its advancement or development. So in order to incentivize state advancement. Right. So bottom line is that you have some people. Are you a ML developer? No, I'm a user experience designer. I'm a just regular engineer. I don't really. I was gonna do this, but after I talked to Rick today, I'm like, I don't even want to waste my time. I'm like, dude, if this whole thing is a sham, I don't want to waste my time going to school and paying all that goddamn money and being in debt to, like, learn how to do language development if it's all, like, just some nonsense. I mean, what do you think?
I mean, I think there's a real thing there, but I just don't think that it's. I don't think that it's a real. Like, I don't think the industry, like, it takes years to get a degree, and, like, years from now, it's not. You still will be unemployed and still need to get a job and still need to, you know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna magically get a job from studying machine learning at this point. I think that's really, it's like we used to have those coding boot camps, right? Like General Assembly and stuff.
Yeah.
Like General Assembly for data science is probably more useful, but that's sort of, we had this conversation previously in private. I mean, that's closer to what you're doing now than studying how to actually make AI, right? I mean, actually getting, like, a data science degree, I think, or doing a data science boot camp is probably going to be more valuable and more relevant than
machine learning.
Yeah, machine learning. Yeah.
And so the biggest takeaway from this, I want to thank you for your time here. I want to get you to give a overall understanding about AI and what is your thoughts. I'm going to give you, like, the platform, and you just speak from your heart about what you really feel. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think they're great tools. I think they're really powerful. I think this sort of expansion of, we're all familiar with, we all have a person in our life where, like, social media rotted their brain, and this person used to be cool, but now all they do is talk about conspiracy theories or some weird thing. We all have that experience in our lives. AI is going to make that experience is partially caused from these AI tools when they were proprietary, when they weren't available to the public. That's where a lot of that phenomenon was coming from. So we've already sort of seen how the negative outcomes of these types of systems. But I think ultimately, and this is what the guy's saying about you have to go through hell before we get to heaven. I mean, I absolutely agree with that. I absolutely do think that, the job loss. So the thing I wanted to say that I didn't get to is, like, a lot of people, their actual job is just this parroting thing. Your job is just parroting stuff. Like, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of jobs. A lot of things that people do. A lot of the people that we, have millions. A lot of the people have millions of followers on Instagram. They're just, they're just parroting. And so, when you look at all the fake parrot, all the bad lawyers out there who are just parroting, and they're like, oh, this is going to be devastating to the legal profession. Well, because those people are providing the type of service that can be replaced by a thing that doesn't think. But that doesn't mean that all of law, which is very philosophical, is particularly susceptible to machine learning. It's just that there's a lot of busy work in law as well, and all that stuff is going to go out the window because of a whole assortment of automation tools, not just LLMs, but the whole suite of automation tools, as an example, right? So I think that LLMs are an interesting tool. I like using them. I think just like anything else, they can be used responsibly or irresponsibly, just like any other tool. And just like Web 2, it's definitely like capturing human eyeballs. That's the business. And even though they haven't flipped the switch yet, one day they will flip the switch and it'll become this extremely sticky, extremely mind-bending product. And that's going to really suck for a lot of people. But hopefully,
do you think it's going to be in the next 10 years?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that'll happen. I think that sort of brainwashing tool that pumps through ads, and governments are buying time on ChatGPT so they can persuade people of their particular political positions and blah blah blah. I think all that stuff is like, that stuff could be like 8 months ago. Like that stuff could happen at any moment. We could be anywhere on the curve of that happening. It's definitely going to happen. So we're somewhere on the it's going to happen path. I just don't know where we are. That could be a year, it could be 5 years. Certainly with like 100% within 10 years, I would say like 90% within 5 years, and probably like 80% within like 2 years. Like I think it's very likely that we are going to have.
So that whole thing of like 6 months from now, AGI is going to exist, and then it's going to create ASI. So that's like
that's all weird bullshit. What is going to happen in that time though is that people are really going to start leveraging this as a platform that they can sell access and capture hearts and minds. That's what I think. I don't know when that maybe that is 2 or 3 years out, right? But that's the real threat. The real threat. And when this guy's saying, oh, it's a dick swinging contest and this, that, and the other between no, it's that they know that these tools are going to be super persuasive, and they're going to be it's the ultra sycophant, right? It's like, imagine someone that can make anyone feel awesome and just sweet talk people. It's like that is enough of a weapon, right? Let's forget about the fact that you can write LLMs that can crack into computers and all. Like, let's leave all that aside and just say it will be able to persuade the masses of various things by sucking up to them. Like that simple tool that we are so close to right now is the real threat, in my opinion, and extremely powerful, and something that's within reach, right? I don't need weird philosophy. I don't need weird science fiction. It's pretty straightforward how we get from where we are to there. And I think that's the threat. But I don't think
this whole model of things that like it's going to give you what you want, but at the core of it doesn't have anything. And then you're believing that it exists, and it is something that is really telling you something that really is whatever, but it's really not based on anything. That's the part that's creepy,
Yes. And I think that that's just an amplification of the problems we currently have with social media. It's just social media on steroids. It's just it's hyper. Social media is already crazy personalized, which is what you were getting at before. Like, social media is already this incredibly personalized thing. And then we're like, well, that wasn't personalized enough. Now we're going to make something even more personalized. And you're like, but isn't that just going to make all the problems of social media but worse? And the answer is, yeah, it is. And I don't think that we're going to ever get out of that. I don't know how we as a society move through that. And I don't think that the the West in general is prepared. I think that Eastern countries, Eastern cultures, China, India, Japan, Korea.
You travel to those places, so Go ahead.
Some of them, yeah. I think that these places are culturally a lot more prepared. Africa, I think, is more prepared. I think the West is basically like built the tool of its own destruction. I don't want to sound like a jihadist or something, but the West really has built a tool that's so self-serving that it sort of like eats itself. Like, it's not other places where people have.
What part do you think that it will eat it? So do you think that the more people that feed into it, the more that we believe into it, that it will begin to become that we don't even think for ourselves? What part do you think will it eat itself?
Well, people don't think generally, and I'm sure your audience actually does think more than average. I'm actually very confident of that. But most people literally don't think. Most people literally don't have words. They don't have a voice. They don't have an inner voice. They don't have a. When they sit in silence, they sit in silence. That's why you hear people talk to themselves, because they don't They don't have the skill of internalizing the voice. So like people really don't think that much. And people usually only think under, that's the whole point of school, right? The reason you have to go to school is because most people, like, getting them to think at all is like torture. It's like, man, why do I have to even think? Like, why am I even thinking right now, right? Like, most people don't think. Thinking is kind of a disease. That's a bit of a digression. But, like, we are building a tool that will think for someone, and it will do so in such an insidious way that it'll be very difficult for anyone to really resist it. The people who make the tool. And so in some sense, so here's the thing, right? I think that guy was bullshit. That first guy, the guy ASI, blah blah blah. There's a lot of bullshit in that, but the truth of it is we are rushing towards building a system that we will not be able to control. I completely agree with that. But and it will be doing arbitrary things. I completely agree with that. It will be moving society and individuals kind of at random. And it'll be a new, different random than the random we grew up with. It'll be a different random than Gen Z grew up with Instagram. It'll be a different random than people grew up with in the 30s with the advent of radio. Broadcast radio. You wouldn't have Nazis if you didn't have broadcast radio, right? Every time we make a new medium, we have these problems as humans, as humans. We make new media. We make a new type of media. It alters our brains. It alters our collective, and then we have to deal with the consequences of that. World wars, obesity, et cetera, so on and so forth, right? And so we're making a new form of media. These agenic systems are a new form of media, and we're going to have a new set of consequences from making that media.
But whether or not it's like they're creating this AI, ASI type of thing. Welcome to the panel, Keon. Whether it's like this level of a scare tactic type of a situation is where it's like that's not more realistic.
No, it's not going to be this mythical beast. I mean, the guy was literally describing like a biblical god, and I'm like, well, no.
Like AGI would turn into ASI, and then it's almost like an ant that created a human, and then that human would squash the ant at any point.
Yeah, incomprehensibly powerful, godlike intelligence. And I'm like, no,
and it's like a million level IQ.
Yeah.
Hey, Keon, welcome to the chat. Did you have a question for Rick?
Yeah, well, no, I just wanted to kind of get into the conversation too. But let me ask. So, are you guys? So, what's the discussion? I'm just trying to get a.
Okay, we don't know what we're talking about. AI. We're talking about AI, AGI, and its things on the side. Are we in danger? And Rick has been up here for a whole hour, actually a little longer than that, almost 2 hours, really breaking down that AI is not at the level that people are thinking it is, and that the language learning model is not what we think it is. For us to be over here afraid of it. To where we're over here like, oh my God, it's going to become this godlike creature, to where we're like over here afraid to work with it because but it is a certain level from what Rick is saying is that there is a certain level to where us as humans in our susceptibility to being lazy. This is what I'm taking. Am I right or wrong? That because we are so lazy that we will begin to rely on it so much that it will begin to think for us, and so therefore that is going to be what the conundrum is. Am I right or wrong? Because this is what I've like assessed from what you're saying. Correct?
Because we're lazy, we'll rely on it to think for us. I think because people are greedy and people want to enslave other people is why that will happen. Not because people are lazy, but because somebody makes trillions of dollars from doing it. Right? It's not just people being lazy that allow themselves to get caught up.
The reason why they're able to make trillions of dollars off of it is because a person is lazy enough, rather than them creating their own proposal, rather than creating their own list, they use AI to do it, and then more people start doing it, and then they're willing to pay this AI to do it, and that person that owns the AI is now able to make trillions of dollars. And when it really breaks down to it, is there's only like 4 companies that are really making the AI, so they're going to be the ones that like get off like a fat rat. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes, that's closer. And I think that again, I really wouldn't say it's lazy, right? It's like there's trillions of dollars of capital working against you, and it's hard to beat them. Like they're going to win. Like it's just hard to beat a guy with $1 trillion saying you're going to use my product. You're basically going to use his product. Like there's really hard, unless you go move to the forest, which to your point, I think maybe that's where we get into the sort of the laziness narrative. Sure, maybe we can call that lazy. But yeah, there's a whole system in place that's going to work to sort of essentially. And again, I don't want to scare people. I don't want to sound like hysterical. We already live in a system, yeah, exactly like this person is saying in the chat. Like we already live in a system where we're subject to these things, and we don't have agency and we don't have control. And AI isn't, in my mind, really isn't going to make it that much worse. It's just going to be a different version. That's what I'm trying to say. Like,
you know what? You know what I think about? Okay, when people were picking cotton, the cotton mill came, and they were like, "Oh my God, the cotton mill!" And then the cotton mill came, and then there's going to just be, they're just reading out people through technology, right? So when they found out how to make cars with machines, there was a certain level of the GM factory that got laid off. Okay, well, we don't need your function. You said no?
No, I said yeah. Yeah.
You know, so now same thing with AI. So now AI is, but at what point of the cutting of jobs that happens with automation do then we become useless as a society?
Well, people, I think, have biological impairments. Some people, is my observation, desire the domination of others. It really matters to them that there's somebody beneath them. It's really important for them. And so what we're changing is not that human impulse to make sure that there's somebody beneath you. We're changing what that means and how it works within our society. So our society will always have an underclass because there's always going to be, I don't think it's possible to weed these people out genetically, nor do I think there's much incentive to. And so there's always going to be people who sort of get off on dominating other people socially. And so they will find a way. So I think, so this is where I think that the idea that we're already at a point today where most jobs, I would say 80% of jobs, aren't providing economic value. We have jobs to figure out where to put people in the social hierarchy. That's what the job is for. The job isn't to survive. You're not working a job so you can survive. You're working a job so that you can find your place, so that society knows where to put you, so that people know to look up to you or look down on you. That's what your job is for.
You know, that's a good point. I never thought about that. If you work at McDonald's, you're here. If you work at a corporate level, you're here. If you have a trade, you're here. If you have an actual doctor's degree, you're here. If you own a corporation, you're there. So there's like a certain but then at that level, now are you working a job? Yeah, that's a good point. So the only reason for a job, because do you really need jobs?
No, we produce in the world more than enough food to feed everybody in the world. We can obviously produce enough shelter. We can obviously produce enough, we throw clothing away at a ridiculous, there's no need, but we have this capitalist system. Yeah, and this is also a good point. Jobs haven't always been around. That's also a really important point. Like, jobs are an invention. Like, somebody invented the job, and they invented the job because it benefited them to have other people working.
Wow, you know what? I didn't think about that. So jobs are just a construct of an artificial society. Yeah. So we've been already existing artificially, and then we think that artificial intelligence is going to do something. Like, no, we already been artificially living to begin with.
Exactly, and that's the crisis that these people are talking about. When people are talking about a crisis that really makes sense, that's the real crisis that makes sense. They're talking about. They're like, well, shit, we can't bullshit these jobs anymore. Like, what are we going to do when the system gets disrupted? And I'm a trillionaire or whatever. I'm a sovereign prince or whatever, and I got this billionaire to go quote unquote make jobs, which is a whole fake thing. And then he got somebody to make jobs, and then he got somebody to make jobs, and then at the end of that whole chain, there's somebody who just pushes around a bunch of paper for no reason. But now somebody in the middle of that chain is saying, "Wait, I'll do better at my job if I fire all those people below me, and I just have a machine do it." And they're like, "Well, what do we do when that happens?"
You know how what you're saying is 100% right. I work in corporate. You know how many meetings we have just for hours about bullshit? Just okay. So did you put this thing over here on the left hand side and the right hand? I think it should be like this. Hours. I spend hours having meetings. I think that the most people that's going to be affected is this middle class of people.
Absolutely.
That just have these jobs where they just sit on meetings and just pontificating about like how. Well, we should. Honey, I hate them long ass meetings. Like, dude, it should not be a meeting. Should not be no more than like 20 to 30 minutes. If it's like past that, you're just bullshitting.
Yes, exactly. So there's all these people who've made their whole lives and their whole careers, starting from when they were 13 years old or whatever it was. Their whole life has been this particular type of bullshitting. And what's going to happen is in 5 or 6 years, all of those people's jobs are going to be at risk. And that's going to be extremely socially disruptive.
And they won't be able to bullshit meeting themselves through life. They'll have to actually do some work. Right?
Well, they're probably just going to live off a UBI. They're probably going to be unemployed and never get work again. I mean, that's historically what happens in the economy. When you displace a group of people with automation, they usually don't retrain and don't take on new jobs. They usually just stay unemployed for the rest of what would have been their professional lives.
What?
Right. That's the first.
What do you think about what he said so far?
You know, he's being more forthcoming now. You know, and he letting out the realness. You know, from I hate to be the one who busts the bubble. That's just the way it is. You gotta. There's too many people who have been inflated with their special. This is why I love George Carlin. He was one of those people who lets you know that, you know, this belief in the Almighty, and it's a lot of this shit is just bullshit, you know.
And yeah, like I mean, this conversation got really like I mean, toward the end when he was about to go, that's when he really began. That, but you know, sometimes that it take about the like, okay, gotta wrap it up, gotta go somewhere. Let me just like really say my point, and that's when he really got to really hitting his points. I was like, damn. Well, he's only on here for like another. I'm gonna play this the rest he said. But yeah, he really began to break it down. Like
The UBI thing, the Universal Basic Income, is it's up in the air, but yeah, I see it's more adjacent. It's in a very nearby future, like obviously, because a lot of these.
well, that's what communism, right?
A lot of these.
They did
lot of these
shit about communism, but yeah, like
a lot of these job reports, as well as the communism, and a lot of these job reports, even here, they've been inflated by AI. Like there's no one. These numbers they're fake.
wow.
There's these employers, these so-called employees, they're all fake. There is no man behind the curtain. There are no floors and ceilings. We are not leaving this planet. I don't care how many spaceships. Man, there's been no one who's ever left the planet and came back and said, you know what, this time I'm never coming back.
And I think that Elon Musk
Always come back.
So what do you think Elon Musk been doing? Do you think he been just bullshitting, trying to get money from the government just for the hell of it, and he know goddamn well he can't get past the fucking?
There's a certain part of that I believe that.
Or do you think he really thought he was going to go to Mars and all? So do you think he really believed
We're
that?
not going. He's not taking us to Mars.
But I'm saying, like, did you think that?
Yeah.
Do you think he believed it? Do you think in his mind he thought that? Because
I think he's just like Tesla. Just like the Tesla, you know, that guy, he died broke.
The planet that he came from.
He died broke. At the end of the day, he died broke.
And then he makes an actual Tesla. That's funny. Wow.
They're gonna vote him out of Tesla soon. You know, just give people the heads up.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, so that's gonna be like a drop in the hole. If you got like stocks in Tesla, watch out. Let's go.
So I'm not sure if y'all remember this, but even during Obama, right, and presidents after, they started testing things in certain areas where the government will be giving people monthly stipends, right? They're going to be giving you money because there will be no jobs. There will be no jobs because automation is coming in and taking over jobs. And the jobs that will be left will be, they won't be enough to take care of anyone. So they still won't go give those people stipends. And that's why the wealthy want these tax breaks, right? Because they want to get as much money as they can, as fast as they can, because the average person who works a job is realizing that they can't survive off a job, right? You need 2 and 3 jobs just to pay rent these days. And the people are realizing that.
So what do you think that the end goal is? Is like to like, because once AI comes into play and they get to replacing all these jobs, what's going to happen then? Like, are we going to have to like?
They don't. That's the real discussion. That's the real like behind closed doors discussion. Is like, well, what do you do? Nobody really knows what to do. We all see it coming. You know, you can go talk to economists. Economists have been talking about this for 100 years. They saw this coming 100 years ago. This isn't a surprise, right? The computer didn't even exist, and they knew that we would end up in the situation we're in now. And nobody really, you know, this is where UBI comes from, universal basic income, which is what the last person was.
Communism. Is that the same thing as communism?
No.
Oh,
In fact, it's kind of the opposite. I mean, universal basic income is
more socialism, if anything, right?
Yes.
Where we as a society help each other. I don't know why we're against that though, right?
Well,
if no one's working, how is everybody in society helping each other? Like,
you're helping each other because. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's not affordable. Like it's a great idea, but it's just not. Well, at least at the time, right now, it's not affordable.
If first of all, if nobody's making money like that, then money becomes obsolete because jobs will become obsolete. So there will be other ways how the countries or the world will handle things.
Is it more like bartering? Like you just work and
yes, money hasn't always. Jobs has
what's the difference between communism and socialism? Rick, could you tell me?
I don't want to get into the difference between communism and socialism.
My bad.
Yeah, bro.
I will say that yes, that I think when someone
UBI, the universal basic income.
When someone says it's not affordable, it's really hard to break down why that's wrong. But basically, it's like, so okay, the way I would explain it briefly, because I do have to go, is that when we talk about what something costs, we automatically think about dollars. You say, oh, this costs so much in dollars. But really what we have to think about is how much did that cost in energy? How much did it cost like solar power? Like imagine it in just solar power terms. How much did it cost in materials? What materials do we have to dig up out of the ground? Like, you know, plants grow from the air, right? I mean, it's so trippy, right? I mean, they just eat air and you have corn. Like it's totally insane. So if I can use the sun and I can use the air, which there's not going to be any shortage of ever, really, you know, we'd have to have hundreds of billions of people on the planet or something. And then that's the cost. It's the knowledge that you need to grow corn. It's the air. It's the sun. It's the, you know, clean water does start to come into this. You know, fertilizer starts to come into it. It's these physical inputs that determine the cost.
Like destroy all corporate structure for that to work because any corporation is not even thinking about.
Well, this is what I'm getting at. Why do we have corporate structure? So that we can have people who are kings, but they're not accountable to anybody. That's the purpose of a corporation. The purpose of a corporation is so you can be essentially a king with no accountability, with no subjects.
I don't know about that.
Wait, what you mean? Because I understand what you're saying in a way, right? But in America, how does that work out? Because even those corporate people have to be, they're responsible, but not to the degree they should be, though.
Right.
So
I mean, yes, exactly. Think about all the times a rich person, whether it's a corporation, whether they're in their personal life, they get out of a problem by spending money. There's a dollar price tag on them doing whatever it is they want to do. There's a price.
But it comes back to bite them, right? We see that going on right now. We see that with Epstein, who was very wealthy, with Trump.
Epstein was not a corporate person. He was just a guy that had some money.
He was a shiesty dude, but he's a great example.
He was like a king.
Yes, but he's a great example. He's a great example because the first time when he actually went to jail the first time in Florida, he would fly his private jet out of prison.
Right. They let him out. Yo, he would go in on just weekends.
Yes, he would go
like
in
that,
and
and
out
they
of
would let
jail.
him out.
When have you ever heard of somebody who optionally went to jail on the weekend? What is that?
They actually had a place he could fly his jet into the.
No, he would it's a whole crazy story. It's well documented. But he did all sorts of crazy shit when he was supposed to be in jail. He was convicted of a crime, and he was supposed to be in jail for that crime. And he would be on his private jet flying to other states, other cities. The parole officer didn't know where he was. He was just gone. Now, he's a
Trump too. Trump didn't go to jail because he had money, right? Because they both was accused of the same thing with the same little girls.
Yes.
And one of them got off, one of them went to jail.
Yeah. And Epstein is a great example because there are limits. You know, it's not like without bound. You can F around and find out. You know what I mean? Like Epstein took it there. Like he kept pushing it, but he when you read about what he did the first time, you're like, this is insane. How is anybody able to do any of this? And then you realize, oh wait, there's a whole class of people in America. There's a whole class of them, of which he's at the bottom. He was at the very bottom of that group of people.
At the bottom of the class, and he was doing that. Wow.
Yes.
Well, he was at the bottom in a sense, but above them because he was blackmailing them with tapes and things of what they would come to his island to do.
Yes, but that's what I mean. He was a dude. He was essentially, at this top band of this elite class of people. The only way he could participate at that level was through blackmail. The other people had their mothers or their fathers or whatever. He was doing it through blackmail. Anyway, that's a whole digression. The point being that when you say something's too expensive, we can't afford it. To go back to that, what we're really saying is more. So there's this thing called the economic problem, and the economic problem is what Adam Smith was writing about in The Wealth of Nations, which is the first book on economics. And the economic problem is with an unlimited supply of human wants and a limited supply of resources, how do we distribute those resources to stop people from rioting? How do we distribute those resources to keep the kings in power specifically? So economics from day one was designed to keep kings in power. That's what its purpose is. So we study the nature of human behavior in markets.
No, he's right. He's right. Listen, at one time, people worked hourly, and there was no 40-hour week, right? They just work, because you needed money. But then, they found out that we need to give people hobbies and things to keep them working, right? Because if we let them get some vacation time or some hobbies,
they call it family life or whatever, work life.
Yeah, and that's when they came up with the 40-hour work week or whatever hour, depending on what country you're in and things like that. But yeah, it's about keeping us in control, so the wealthy can stay wealthy.
But I'm more disagreeing with the fact that he's saying that economics was pretty much, I guess, invented to keep kings. And I would actually probably argue the opposite throughout history, because kings was literally the only people who controlled the income and the outcome of the nation's either income or capital, whatever you want to call it. So economics itself is now just built on numbers and stocks and things of that nature now. So it's taken away from somebody being in control of it. Now it's the people itself, especially in America today. Now, especially like what free market and stuff like that, it's about the people themselves and not just one person who thinks we should do these things. So it's
one group of people, right? Because even now, if you buy a home, so recently here in Delaware, right? It's not the only place, but I'm using it because it's happening to us, my family as well. So you purchase a house, right? Let's say this month let's say last year I purchased my home for $300,000. But just 2 months ago, they told me that my home is worth $700,000. And this is not even joke.
Stock market. That's the stock market, yeah.
No, so wait a minute. But if my home went from $300,000 from last year to $700,000 this year, that's not a good thing, right? Because taxes went up, and now my mortgage went from maybe $3,000, right, all the way to $7,000.
Yes, and
that is happening all around this country to all of us.
Yes, what that means?
World. That's just that happens. Period. Like value goes up because resources go down.
Well, what that means is that the value of the dollar went down, and if your salary didn't go up with the costs with the value of your house, that means that the value of your time also went down, right? So now your time is worth less because you're getting paid the same amount, but your expenses just went skyrocket, just tripled or doubled or whatever.
Yes.
So if your income doesn't adjust with those types of costs,
we're about to lose out.
Yeah, and income generally.
But is that it? Let me ask you this though: is the adjustment of one's income, is that a government problem or a personal problem, or is it like a ratio for you?
That's a government. Okay, so yeah, that's a government problem.
That's a really good question.
That is, because it could be a little mixture of all, right? Because the jobs of these people haven't changed. It was valuable. Like if we was making $100,000 last year and still making $100,000 this year, it's still $100,000, right? It's just not worth what $100,000. Right. It's not.
To be honest, your $100,000 from last year probably isn't the same $100,000 from this year.
That's what I'm saying.
It's probably not worth the same. Yeah, it's probably lower.
Her house went up from $300,000 to $700,000, and now her $100,000 is now she's like basically a middle class person. So that is the thing that's like crazy. That's insane.
No, now we poor because we can lose a house. Like we cannot afford $7,000 a month. We was pushing it with $3,500 a month. Now $7,000. And this is happening all around the country. Like literally, this is happening. People are losing homes and they don't care. And then you end up homeless.
House right now, and I had to thank God I had a VA loan. But my interest rate, when I bought my home, was 3.5%. Then it went down to 2.5%. But I still could. I have to right now try to sell the house.
Yeah, but it's not the loan, right? It's not the interest rate that affecting us. It's the property taxes that hitting us. The interest rate didn't go up or down. The property taxes, and they add that to our mortgage. You might
Have they been doing renovation? Have they been doing any type of renovations around your
Right. So so Rick left at the time. I wish we would have let him talk a little more. But what do you think so far about so give us because I've been up here for almost like 4 hours, 3:30. Give your assessment of everything that's been said so far. What do you think so far?
That's a great question. I think it was just an educational exercise that people are coming to some agreement that the cost of living is not adding up. We've been conforming to believing that, you know, we work hard. We save. The retirement thing, the Social Security thing, our children, we have young children. They may not have, it's not, we're eating it up right now. This is it. They may be introduced into that UBI. But this is it. According to Social Security Administration, Social Security will be insolvent by 2033.
Oh wow.
You know, and right now though we have a lot of people who are technocrats in this country, and they're pumping this AI. We have the Trump administration that's AI friendly, crypto friendly, but see over there in Europe, they despise technology. They despise it a whole lot. They've been against technology since World War II. They don't really mess around with it as much. China is definitely in that race. And just like how China introduced America to what's going on, like with the Prada bags and the Gucci bags, that one guy was saying, listen, we get the official stamp or certificate from France or Italy, but we make this at a cheaper cost, and we ship it back to France or Italy.
And we get all like
we all 30
from Africa.
times more.
So do you think that Africa is going to come up and become the next superpower? Like, do you think there's going to be like that China and Russia is going to empower Africa like that, or do you think that would not be in their best interest? What do you think is going to happen with that?
I think it's getting ready to be recolonized. Yeah, that's why it will be a superpower. But the inhabitants there right now, the young inhabitants, because they have the child majority on planet Earth, they're going to probably be begging for recolonization because they're figuring out too. And I'm saying like this, they're figuring out they've been lied to for so long. Their leaders, their misleaders have been backdooring them, flying to France, Europe, wherever, Canada to get their education, but get buried right there in Africa. They don't do anything for Africa. The young children are knowing this. They have cell phones in their hands. They know these things now. Trust our leaders again, or trust the ones that put our leaders into power?
Well, listen, so I want to thank you for coming up here with me.
Thank you as well. I'm always here, and thank you for your platform, and everybody stay tuned. The aliens have landed, they say.
Oh no, they're not. They haven't gotten here yet. Right there. Hold on, let me see. The aliens are coming on their way. Hold on, the alien ship on its way to Earth. Let's see what they're saying. So they're saying it's supposed to be coming here in November. Some interstellar object says it's going at 100 and some odd miles an hour or some crazy amount of like 135,000 miles an hour.
It's just like they have that new Alien television show, and also we need this excitement, but it could be.
I don't know, man. That would be very scary if it does come here. But I mean, if it's going that fast, I mean, and it even if it slows down, it's going to create some ripples on the earth. So I don't know what the fuck is going on. Well, let's talk. Let's hear what they gotta say.
Confirmed that there is some sort of an alien spaceship, probably like a hostile alien mothership that's heading towards Earth. And according to the Harvard scientist, it seems like the spaceship is probably going to be reaching towards the proximity of Earth during the month of December. Well, they even shared an image of what this thing looks like. And the reason why they're calling this as an hostile alien spaceship is because they believe that whatever this thing is that's currently flying towards our solar system, it's said to be doing some very weird things, which doesn't look like any sort of a comet or any random rock that just floats around in the space. So there's a very specific reason as to why some of the scientists from Harvard, they believe that this whole massive spaceship thing is actually a hostile alien. Now, before we jump into the details of the alien spaceship, you guys need to watch this, because a few months ago, we also covered this information where there were a lot of, whistleblowers who claim that they have been working with these secret organizations who supposedly have some sort of a contact with the fallen angels. Now, usually they call these fallen angels as aliens, but then these whistleblowers apparently worked on these projects with these secret organizations in Antarctica, and these guys have started telling the truth about what they really worked on. And we also covered this in my previous videos. But what's interesting is that one of these whistleblowers was very specific about what's about to happen and what the government and the scientists are about to do in the coming months. And this statement was something that he just revealed 6 months ago. And just right after 6 months, it seems like they have officially just done what he said would happen. Just take a look at what he has to say here.
Zero doubt. That lie is coming. What is the lie?
Look at this stuff.
Specifically, you want me to say it right now, for real? On camera? To be put in the show? Okay. Problem with that. If we tell the lie before it's told, they can adapt. That wouldn't be wise. Is that lie is going to be that there's a craft slowly making its way to us here on Earth.
That's exactly what he says.
Is the lie they're going to want you to believe. It's nuanced, how they explain that, the nature of that threat, but that 100% is the lie you are going to be told. You even got a date. People have been whispering a date for a long time.
Oh, so they already planned this whole stuff.
Where that lie comes from. I know specifically what document from the 70s initiated the idea of that lie.
Oh, so he's basically talking about the Project Bluebeam. I don't know if you guys know about the whole Project Bluebeam stuff. The government and the classified guys, they're just going to be conducting a massive project where they're going to make, Second Coming using all these technologies and drones, and they're just going to portray a massive alien invasion. And after that, there will be one dude.
Go ahead. What were you going to say? Project Bluebeam?
I was going to say that Project Bluebeam from the jump. I mean, with the holographs, with the holographic light, we're at a time. See, my belief is this, and I've always said this to my oldest child. Aliens, they come here to a place that this is a cannibal planet. We cannibalize each other on this planet. They find interest in this? It's not the place to be. That's all I'm saying. So, but hey.
Well, let's hear the rest of it.
He's going to save everybody from that, and he's going to create.
What are you going to say? What were you saying?
I'm just saying it's just the behavior of an entity or extraterrestrials wanting to engage a planet that is cannibalistic.
Well, I mean, if they're like a higher being than we are, they ain't worried about no cannibalism. They gonna be like, they might. Who knows what they're on? They might be on some militaristic and like enslavistic and all that other istic. So
one world order, which means that there will be only one government, only one ruler, and that's going to be Antichrist. So that's basically what the Project Bluebeam is all about, where they are going to make a complete lie up, and they're just going to create their own second coming of Christ. And whoever this person will be, who's going to save us all from this alien invasion, is going to be the Antichrist. And that's the CIA classified document that he's talking about here.
Document. That is the lie you will be told. You're going to be told that there's a craft on its way to Earth.
That's exactly what's going on right now.
Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I sent you 2 texts today with a year, not from me.
With a year? The biggest lie is going to be 2027.
Nope. I'm not going to propagate that lie. I'm not going to be part of it. I'm not going to say it to the camera. Everybody knows. Just start paying attention. And they'll change the date, especially if they see this. Things will change. Because maybe I'm trustworthy. Maybe I'm worthy of your trust. Maybe I've told you the truth the whole way through it. Now you can verify it.
That's exactly what he was called when he came out and gave this information as well. A lot of people said that he's just making stuff up just because he wants the fame, just because he wants the attention. You know, people just do all kinds of random stuff and whatnot. But right now, 6 months later, we have just discovered that the whole situation that he was talking about, which is the massive alien spaceship or whatever that's going to be coming down towards Earth, and they now claim that it's going to be in a hostile alien spaceship as well. And apparently Harvard's astrophysicists are basically saying that a Manhattan-sized object in our solar system could be an alien spacecraft. So it's as big as the entire city of Manhattan, and that's how huge that is. This was also spoken about in Joe Rogan's podcast. Take a look at this stuff.
130,000 miles an hour.
No, that might solve all our problems.
Some intergalactic object is heard. This is this guy, Avi Loeb. He's a professor at Harvard that believes it might be an alien probe.
Wow.
And he was talking about the odds of this thing being in the trajectory that it is, entering into our solar system in a direct path with Earth. The odds are extremely low.
And the biggest reason as to why they believe that there's a spaceship and not just any random rocks that's just floating around in our solar system is, number one, because it's moving extremely weird, and it's also moving very, very faster than any type of rock would be floating around in space. And most rocks in space, they're known to be drifting apart at a very predictable speed. But at this thing, it seems like it's moving extremely fast. And sometimes it just slows down and then it starts increasing speed. And it just moves in, and it just starts moving in all different directions, where it basically seems like someone is operating the stuff. Now, it's also flying in a very convenient path. Now, what's actually weird about this whole thing is that it's moving from one planet to another in a very specific direction. Now, if it was just a rock, it's probably just going to float in a specific direction, or it might look like a mindless rock that's just floating around in space. But this one, it specifically is swinging around from one planet to another, as though it's basically checking out every single planet and collecting all the data from those planets. Because first it went all the way to Venus, and then it seems like it went to Mars, and then it moved on to Jupiter, and finally it seems like it's going to be hiding behind Sun. Now, according to the scientists, we know that these things are obviously lies, but then the explanation that these guys are giving is that the aliens are basically scouting around, and they're trying to go from planet to planet, and finally they're just going to hide behind the Sun. And for a moment, it seems like people from Earth will be able to see the spaceship, which it will be flying very close to Sun in the month of December, and then it's going to be hiding behind the Sun.
How do they know all this bullshit? Like, what? They know a lot of details about what this thing gonna do. That's crazy. What the hell?
On the other side of Sun, so that we can't really see what it's doing. So probably the scientists are believing that, you know, our telescopes are not going to be able to pick it up. So apparently they are assuming that we can't really know what they're doing. And some of the scientists are stating that, you know, they're just probably just dropping off some sort of a cargo, or maybe they're just planning or plotting something, or maybe just giving a surprise attack. We never know. Now, obviously, a lot of us have been knowing about this whole thing from many, many years ago. We already spoke about Project Bluebeam, you know, the thing where they're going to just basically orchestrate alien situation where, you know, aliens are going to attack using some of these holograms where they're going to be projecting them using drones and all these different things in the sky. And that's one of the reasons why they've also been spraying our skies. Now, I don't know how many of you guys are aware of how these jets that's just flying around have recently been spraying some sort of a weird chemical around in the sky, which just looks very unusual, and the clouds look very unusual. And the reason why they're doing these things is possibly because they want to use these projected cloud-like format. According to the Project Bluebeam, the reason why they're going to be spraying the stuff is because they can basically use the screen in the sky where they can now start projecting images that will start reflecting from the clouds that they have projected up in the sky. This is basically all just planned for many years, and they've been working on the stuff. And once they're ready, it seems like December is the time. So as far as what the scientists have said,
The place where it's doing it, it's when the Earth is the opposite side of the sun, so it's coming from behind the sun. And it's so it makes it difficult to detect. And that this object is in a direct line to come to Earth in 2027.
Do they have
so they're going to come to Earth in 2027? And that's exactly what that other dude also said, man. I mean, that was the exact freaking year that he also mentioned, which is going to be 2027. And that's what the scientists are also saying.
The trajectory of where it's going to land?
I don't think they totally know that yet. I think they're trying to calculate whether or not it's actually going to hit Earth or come near Earth. or pass by Earth or what it
Right.
is. Like,
why do they think it's an alien satellite or whatever?
Well, there's this guy Avi Loeb, this professor that I'm discussing. He also had an analysis of another object that passed by Earth.
I think he's talking about that Omayoma, whatever that massive
and they
rock
said that
was.
this thing had a very bizarre metallic sort of a look to it that he did not think, based on the shape of it and the way it was traveling, that it was natural. So he thought that that could have been some sort of an alien craft as well. I don't know. It's too fun. It's too fun.
But as it gets closer, we could probably decipher.
Scientists give chilling update on mysterious interstellar object racing through our solar system as they warn it's even bigger than we thought. Provide a chilling update on mysterious interstellar object that's racing through our solar system using data from the Vera C. Rubin Observatory. Experts have revealed just how big the object dubbed 31 Atlas really is. According to their analysis, the object measures roughly 7 miles in diameter. Wow. Holy fuck. How big is New York City? Bigger than Mount Everest, making it the largest interstellar object ever spotted. Professor Avi Loeb.
Just imagine a massive spaceship that's bigger than Mount Everest just standing up in the sky. It kind of just reminds me of that movie. I think it's called Independence Day.
A 7-mile long spaceship comes here.
It's crazy.
Wouldn't that affect the actual atmosphere? Because what?
We have a gravitational pull. I would imagine that it would apply.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell that's about, but that's crazy.
I mean, take a look at this right here. This is like the clip from the Independence Day movie from 1996. You know, there is a massive spaceship that just stands right about in the sky. And that looks crazy. I think this is probably what they're, basically trying to create or whatsoever, man. And that's just crazy. And it just starts annihilating everywhere, starts burning each and everything, destroying everything, all the buildings and stuff. So this is basically what the movies were preparing us for all these years ago. It seems like Hollywood and the movies and whatever, man. All of these things are just preparing us for something that these people have already planned for many years ago. And that's probably Project Bluebeam. And the dude also spoke about this. And initially, when the whistleblower came out and he said, well, 2027, they were going to announce that, the spaceship is here. And before that, they're going to start the talk saying that, there's a massive thing that's coming towards Earth or whatever. And initially, a lot of people said that, well, he's just bullshitting. That's exactly what they said. And I, too, was not really keen into believing that stuff. And right now, seeing that they are literally saying the exact same thing, including the date being 2027, it finally seems like the whistleblower was actually right. And another important thing that this dude says is that they are basically lying to us. And it seems like the whole organization that's behind this is basically lying. And apparently, they're just going to make a second coming happen on their own terms. And that one is not going to be real. And we should be very aware, because we already know what the scripture says, that there will be a fake second coming. Many will come before him claiming that it is he is the Messiah. But at the end of the day, the entire world will eventually witness. They're using technology in order to create this stuff. And I think as we start moving towards 2027, crazy things are going to start happening. And it seems like their whole project, they're just trying to activate it. And moving forward, it just seems like, life is going to be a roller coaster. Crazy things happening all around. Now, genuinely, I want to know, what do you guys think about this whole situation that's going on and the mothership coming to Earth and all the lies that these guys have been spreading across on the world? I want to know your take. Let me know down below in the comments. And at the end of the day, the only thing that I would honestly suggest every single one of you guys to believe in is genuinely these scriptures, man, because these things,
Wow. So that's interesting, you guys. So listen, I was going to wrap this show up, but I wanted to show y'all that because I thought it was very interesting. So we're going to wrap it up. And any more words you want to say before we leave? Because I'm getting sleepy now. I'm starting to fall.
I'm getting rusty as well. And it seems like he's holding the Holy Bible, the basic instructions before leaving Earth. Hey, if that's all you need, that's all you need. I mean,
just read the Bible and everything gonna work out.
That's what they say. I mean, I believe living on Earth is better than heaven. That's how I look at it. I wouldn't want to give it up.
Ashe, oh. Much respect. Peace. Good night.
Mission, trying to get it right. Transition, changing the way that I see life. Transition mind. I'm on a mission, get it right. I'm transitioning my life. Making a transition. Ooh, making a transition. Ooh, 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 ooh. Making a transition. Ooh, 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 ooh. Making a transition. Turn a mission, a mission. I'm on a mission. On a mission, I'm trying to get it right. Changing the way that I see life. Transition in my life. On a mission.